Hello everyone, welcome to What If Cid Kagenou Lost His Humanity and Became Terrifying Part 3. Before we start, please go support Wixter12 for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistake in character's gender, but of course Cid is a male. Chapter 18. Some time passed. About half an hour? I took some tissues from the kitchen and soaked them in water from the tap in the same kitchen. I went back and placed a bucket of water to use when my brother was burning. I wet his head with the cloth. The girl with strange ears who was next to him continued to take care of him. When I approached my brother, she kept looking at me. All I could understand was, "It's likely that she really loves and appreciates my brother." However, despite all that, I still don't agree with the idea of her and both of them being so close to him. He probably saved them, and they appreciate him. But being in bed directly. But something strange is happening. I can't help but think that the other girl who left gave off a strange aura. It didn't bother me that she killed that member of the Diabolos cult. But even my brother could tell that what she had done was a bit extreme. He asked me if he too has realized everything that's happening. I just hope my brother recovers from his illness again. If he recovers from his illness, I'll be able to talk to him. But now isn't a good time. I'm really holding back from letting go because I have to tolerate everything that's happening. I'm probably overthinking things, but I can't help it. I've never tried so hard in my life to do things. The only reason I've done everything I've done up until now was for myself, but ever since I was able to see the outside, I feel like I can't leave yet. I don't want to die, and I don't want the only person who's ever been by my side to have the same fate as the other people who were by my side, so no matter what. I can't trust others even though nothing's happening now. I just can't do it. The fever has gone down a little. Now he needs to rest. Boss. He's fine, he just overexerted himself and is exhausted. But now we have to deal with the other problem. The medicine he needs for him to recover more effectively. He was recovering well until he overexerted himself a few moments ago, and with the effort he made, it will take him longer to recover on his own. I don't like seeing him like this. I want him to be better as soon as possible, and I don't like seeing him vulnerable. Anything could happen if he's like this. The strange men who have been bothering us again and again keep showing up. I can almost say they're coming for me or my brother. If what I'm saying is correct, we must have something they want. I don't know what, and I'm not interested in knowing. With the sick guy, this could get very complicated. We have to find a remedy to restore it. The kitten is already taking care of that. I don't trust your friend. The kitten may be a clumsy idiot and annoying, but she doesn't lie when it comes to helping Basu. Besides, if we leave, he'll be unprotected, and my duty is always to be by Boss's side and prioritize his recovery. Do you trust her that much? No. But she's always tried to help Basu, that's something I'll admit. Besides, if she tried anything, she wouldn't make it out alive. For some reason, I can't trust your friend. But if you trust her that much, I'll take your word for it. But if it turns out to be fake, HMP, I don't care if you believe me or not, Disu. A few hours passed. Delta had fallen asleep on the right side of the bed. Hannah just sat awake, waiting for something to happen. She couldn't sleep comfortably with the current situation. Hours later, a sound was heard. A peculiar feline appeared from the shadows, a blue mist surrounding her. Her appearance was in minuscule seconds, as if it were almost instantaneous. It seemed as if the girl wanted to appear as stealthily as possible and avoid causing as much noise or trace of presence as she could, despite the fact that her technique, at first glance, already seemed too fast for a human to see her. Let's talk about normal humans in this world. Likewise, her presence was almost undetectable. She tried hard to hide it as much as she could in the midst of the undetectable darkness. You're finally back, aren't you? I admit your trick is good, but it's no good enough to catch someone like me off guard. You tried to hide your presence as best you could, but it's no good if I only read the man around me. So you read my previous movements before showing up, huh? Interesting for a girl. You're planning to do something, aren't you? Unfortunately, I don't have much time. I'll ask you to fall immediately. Did you wait for me to fall asleep to make things easier? You probably didn't even bring the medicine you said you were going to bring. It was all your plan. Zeta looked directly at Hannah. Zeta tried to use the technique she had learned not long ago thanks to a subordinate of the Diabolos cult. The technique was called the Gaze of Death. Zeta channeled a large amount of mana until it exploded a person and made them explore in front of her with the help of their sight and focus on vital points. To Zeta's surprise, when she tried to perform it, for some strange reason, she couldn't alter Hannah's mana. Hannah's magical mana was so abysmal that it was simply impossible to make it explode more than she could. The girl was a huge container of pure magic. It doesn't work. In that case, Zeta's claw disappeared. This was noticed by Hannah, who was surprised. She could immediately feel a cut on her arm that went straight through her arm. When she turned around, she realized that Zeta's hand was stuck in her arm. When Hannah tried to pull it away from her, the claw disappeared and returned to Zeta again. The mist technique that Alpha Sama uses has various uses. Interesting. I should try his head now. What was that? That doesn't matter now. His right claw is here, it comes. Zeta's claw was going to pierce Hannah's neck, but before it could do so, two mysterious arms surrounded Hannah's neck, preventing Zeta from piercing her neck due to the strong resistance of both mysterious arms, and her attempt was useless. What is this? Hannah tried to move Zeta with her telekinesis. In response to her attempt, Zeta began to move to prevent Hannah from being able to directly grab her and throw her. If Zeta kept moving, Hannah couldn't catch her. Zeta's speed easily surpassed Hannah's, and thanks to that, Hannah began to feel cornered. I've only just managed to figure out how to use this fraction of my power. If I try to use more, I'll cause trouble. But I also can't let this woman hurt me and my brother. This tactic could be interesting. You let your guard down. Zeta was about to hit Hannah from behind, but before she could cut Hannah's head with her slime blade, Zeta began to feel herself losing power, and instead found herself floating in the air. Shall I use my telekinesis ability on the entire room? The whole room began to suffer havoc. All the furniture, including the bed where Cid and Delta were, began to rise into the air. Delta slowly began to yawn, waking up due to the noise and gravity that was happening in the place due to his senses. What's wrong, Disu? Interesting skill. Zeta summoned more slime weapons, which she began to launch at Hannah at high speed. This speed could not be seen by Hannah, who inevitably received the blades on the various extremities of her body. Ugh! Do you have any more tricks? You still have more power than you've shown. Unfortunately, I'm not like the others you've faced. This will end for you now. Zeta launched herself at Hannah, who was immobilized by the blades. Hannah just closed her eyes, resigning herself to her fate. A metallic sound creaked in the room. When Hannah opened her eyes, she noticed a girl with long black and gray ears. A long, furry black tail tied to a beautiful gold-tipped necklace. In turn, a dark ebony suit with small golden decorations as well. She noticed to her surprise how the girl had stopped her opponent's sword blow with one completely bare hand. She only seemed to have her claw a little larger than normal, with a liquid substance coated in the palm of her hand. Her presence. Her magic was known. It was the girl she spoke with not long ago and started a conversation. What are you doing? Boss ordered me to take care of that spoiled girl. You can't hurt her, that's the boss's orders. Did the teacher ask you to protect this girl? You must be kidding. The teacher and I agree on the same goal. Well, I don't know what objective you're talking about. That you have with Bossu, but Bossu ordered me to protect her when he's busy. I don't like it, but I have to obey what the boss tells me, Disa. Back off, useless wolf. You have nothing to do with this plan. I'm sorry, but I won't do it if you take one more step. I won't hold back, not even with you. Disa. I warned you. Zeta disappeared from Delta's presence. Delta noticed that Zeta hadn't heard her. She had prepared for a possible attack from Zeta. A small mark from Zeta's tail was noticed in the air within seconds. Delta attacked the air thinking that Zeta was within sight, however, she only managed to hit the air. Get out, coward! If that's what you want. Delta's leg began to bleed slowly. When the Therianthrope also looked at his left leg, she had noticed a semi-deep cut on his leg with discomfort. Delta removed the blade that was stuck in his leg. But after removing the blade, Delta felt something approaching thanks to his enhanced senses. He crouched down, supporting himself with his hands on the floor. Invisible blades had pierced the wall of the room just above the bed where Cid Kagenou was. Jeff. You let your guard down again. Zeta was about to stick her knife in Delta's jaw, who felt a chill due to the distance that had barely passed between Zeta and Delta. Zeta was hiding her presence, but Delta was having a hard time following her. Since their last battle, of course, Zeta researched and polished her skills to prevent Delta from sensing her presence easily. Her skill previously was good, but Zeta felt that something was missing since that encounter. Normal people or elves and semi-races could not detect her technique because they did not have senses as precise as Delta's. Was it that, or that Delta was considerably stronger than the enemies Zeta had faced? Zeta used the battles against the 7 shadows as practice to further polish her techniques. She did not stop researching and filling herself with knowledge on how to become stronger, remembering the words that her master had given her. You're talented. Probably the most talented of the 7 shadows. But you still need a lot of polish and to learn more improvisation. Delta, noticing the blade, bit it hard, stopping the attack that Zeta tried to give him. In that position, Zeta was half uncovered and vulnerable to receiving an attack from Delta, who immediately took advantage to try to kick Zeta. But before he could execute his plan, multiple blades came out of the ground which began to attack Delta from behind. Upon noticing this, she tried to move, but it was too late. Delta let out a few moans of pain as she received the cuts on her back, which didn't stop. Ugh! I had contemplated that I would have to face some shadow that would impede my objective. I have a plan to deal with them all. The only one that would be complicated for me was you and Alpha Sama because of your power. I deduced that Alpha Sama was unable to plan against her. But against you, it was only a matter of polishing and improvising my skills more. I won't give you time to adapt or bring out your full power now that I know your way of fighting. I'm sorry, little wolf. A moan echoed in the place. Hannah, seeing the scene, was perplexed. What her eyes were looking at, she still couldn't believe it. The companion who was supposed to be the other girl she met and started a conversation in a short time. It had pierced her stomach. Hannah had suspicions of both felines, however. Her suspicions were more towards Zeta than Delta. But the reason why she also suspected Delta was because she followed someone like Zeta, who perhaps Delta knew what Zeta was doing. Hannah didn't know what Zeta was planning or anything, but it was an intuition that she had developed. Zeta always looked at her with a look that didn't give off trust. On the other hand, Delta simply looked at her as a stranger who didn't matter to her and only cared about Shadow. Zeta was the same with Shadow, but even her eyes in front of Shadow gave off an inexplicable pain deep down. Something like, I'm sorry. GGH no. I'd rather not kill you. Not for Alpha Sama or the others, but for the Master. However, if I leave you alive now, you'll get in the way of my plans again. I can't leave you now that you're alive. Bibasu. Delta tried to stand firmly, however Zeta acted quickly again and cut Delta again mercilessly, who due to the little strength she had left due to being stabbed in a vulnerable point, only moaned in pain. Drops began to slowly fall from her red abdomen. In turn, from her mouth a little of that same liquid began to fall. With the little strength she had, she only looked at the bed in front of her and began to shed a few tears. Sorry, Basu. Delta fell to the ground. Zeta had won her duel against Delta. After so many attempts by Zeta in the past to defeat her rival and failing, for the first time in her life, Zeta had won. But Zeta felt uneasy in her heart when she saw Delta's body. She simply looked away. The victory she achieved was in a certain way. Dirty. Having planned everything was not something clean. That stained her pride as a warrior. However, the feline was mentally and physically prepared to give up what she loved most and end everything necessary to bring happiness to her master. You follow. Zeta marked his gaze while his suit was covered a little of the blood that Delta had splattered. Zeta began to walk towards Hannah, who had only been in shock by the way in which Zeta had finished off her partner, who was supposed to be on their side both. To Zeta's surprise and Hannah's own, a moan sounded. Something stopped Zeta. Zeta's leg was immobilized. I haven't lost yet, Basu. You. Why are you still doing this? You don't have to protect me anymore. You could have run away. You could have just ignored the situation and let me get killed. Why are you so focused on stopping this crazy woman from killing me? What would it benefit you to help someone who didn't treat you well? Delta, who was barely moving, simply looked at Hannah with her last strength. Hannah did not understand her action, but when she realized, she turned back. The reason why Delta was doing this, even if her life was in danger. The reason for Delta's existence, and her reason for living. Shadow. Hannah had understood. Delta only cared about her brother's well-being. Such a value that Delta implied had reached the little girl's heart, who clenched her fists a little in envy that there was someone who loved her brother so much, but more than that. Disagreement. You said it was yours, didn't you? Then why do you leave the person who could be a burden to that goal alive for you? In the deep thought of Delta on the brink of death. If you die, he will be sad, but if you stay by his side, he won't be. Delta was accepting something strong inside her, the possibility that Cid Kagenou might not love her as much as an alpha as Hannah and more people, but even so. Delta tried to always strive to achieve that happiness in Cid Kagenou, and above all she had her pride in believing in herself whether or not she was the most important thing in her boss's life. Only one thing mattered to Delta. The happiness of the one who gave meaning to her existence. If the person who gave her life was sad, she would have failed as a therianthrope loyal to her lord. That is why you must live, were her thoughts, who, leaving her pride aside and with the little connection in this world, continued trying to stop the person in front of her. Zeta, noticing Delta's actions, felt a small pang in her heart. She really didn't want to kill her companions for pleasure, however, she was forced to do so by her mission. And if that was what the master wanted, it was all or nothing. Memories flooded her mind from her time among the seven shadows. Zeta closed her eyes and convinced herself. This is the right path. I do it for the master. In this world, power requires sacrifice. Nothing is perfect. I wish it were, but I wasn't born into a world that was. And this is the reality. Zeta hit Delta's cheek and tried to move forward, but when she realized it, Delta was still holding her leg, not weakening her strength one bit. Faced with such insistence, Zeta continued kicking Delta multiple times, trying to free herself. However, Delta continued to cling to her leg, clinging to the last mission she would possibly do, perhaps in life. Enough. Tis, you're too persistent. Just go to sleep for a while. Zeta kicked Delta more brutally, trying to free herself from her grasp, but it was practically useless. Delta continued clinging to her. Zeta then closed her eyes, with a look of sadness/regret. She summoned a sword. Stop, don't do it! Zeta approached to plunge her sword into Delta's head. Hannah began to run, trying to catch up to Zeta and prevent the latter from connecting her sword with Delta, who remained motionless on the ground, unable to move much. Before she could perform her action, a strange yawn sounded in the room that prevented Zeta from continuing her attack. She began to sweat as soon as she realized who the yawn was coming from. On the other hand, Hannah had been confused until she noticed Zeta's attitude. Why are you making so much noise? I can't sleep. Cid began to slowly get up from his bed with his uniform, which he already had on with the. My head was still hurting, but the rest calmed me down a bit. Am I awake yet? I don't usually sleep that much, but it felt nostalgic when I'd stay up all night in my old life, training all the time, and I'd get my full 8 hours of sleep. I sniffed my bed, and it had the scent of Zeta and Delta. Did they sleep with me? At least it wasn't like last time. I think I should take better measures next time. The noise was so infernal that my body couldn't help but wake me up. When I got up, I looked ahead. I noticed an unusual scene. Delta was lying on the floor with a large pool of blood. Zeta had a sword with her. Hannah was found with some knives stuck in her. Could it be that they are already in their Chinibu rebellion stage? Is it some kind of roommate fight? Interesting, but I think this fight ended less than I expected. Bro, get out of here, that chick is crazy. Shadow began to approach Zeta. When she noticed that her master was slowly approaching her, she resigned herself to the thought that perhaps Shadow was going to end his life for the disaster he had caused. She closed her eyes, preparing to die. If she was going to die, there was no better fate than to die at the hands of the one who saved her years ago, and to whom she owes her life. A small sound was heard in Zeta's head. When she opened her eyes, she noticed that Cid had grabbed her head and continued walking a little further until he stopped at where Delta was. "If you're going to fight, don't do it in my room. Don't overexert yourselves. This looked like a fight to the death. I don't care what you think, but I don't think I'd enjoy seeing dead bodies as soon as I wake up." Sorry, master." "Huh? What are you talking about? This chick wanted to kill me. Then she attacked the other strange wolf. One of the stakes almost hit you." It seems like his Chanibia stage really was too strong this time. I approached Delta, and when I took her from her back I noticed that she had several pieces of slime blades embedded in her. At the same time, a deep wound in what seemed to be her abdomen. Was it probably in a vein or weak surface? She had weak chest beats. I could see through Delta with the help of my eyes impregnating mana in them. I could see as if it were X-rays through her body. Fractures, bleeding heart with a weak pulse. I turned my gaze towards Zeta. She seemed intact. How strange, the last time Zeta and Delta faced each other it was a close fight, but this seems as if Delta was beaten by Zeta. I do not doubt that perhaps if Zeta took advantage of her potential she could overcome her, but coming out intact almost seems strange. I impregnated a little of my magic to Delta and began the internal and external restoration of her body. Delta's abdomen was completely pierced. I began to heal the wounds that Delta had with herself. I also disappeared the slime stakes that were embedded with the same magic. This was very simple to do. If I destroyed everything atomically, I also have my plan to build everything atomically. Atomic magic, a weaker version of I am an atomic healer, which consisted of returning to an atomic level any structure that was destroyed at the atomic level. As long as its atoms exist, I can even return limbs to their original point by joining the atoms again. Incredible. His wounds are healing. Did my brother have this ability? It's almost like his body is returning to its original state. I already had my ability with myself, but since I got sick a few times due to viruses or my body's system, I tried to do a magic that could revert my body at an atomic level from a possible illness. I tried to develop a cure for my fever, but before I realized it, when I woke up my body had stabilized itself again. I adapted to the illness, and it was over. I couldn't achieve my goal of using atomic healer on me when I was sick. It's a shame, but at least now I can boast that I feel better. Atomic restoration. Atomic restoration. Join the atoms and put them back together into one only when they are separated from their structure. A wound is nothing more than a separation of the atoms. If these still exist, I simply turn them into molecules, and from molecules to cells, continuing the biological process, allowing the regeneration of one missing tissue. If there are no atoms or atoms are missing, I use my own atomic energy to create it from zero. I created this technique in case one day I suffered the risk of losing organs or limbs, in case of not being able to move an organ in time, in order to avoid permanent damage. Well, actually, last time I felt a constipation in my stomach, and the idea occurred to me. What if my stomach or some organ stops working in the future due to combat, or simply age? Could I create another one? And my heart? HMJ boss? Don't move yet. Zeta, could you explain to me why you made so much chaos in my room? I'm sorry, master. It's just that I'm only following the orders you gave me before. Orders? What are you talking about now? I just asked for a reason why I couldn't sleep comfortably. I'll make sure your goal is achieved by any means, even if it means sacrificing everything. You'll probably hate me for this. Zeta, I'm not looking for any goal. Hey! What is our goal? Hunting in the shadows? That's right. Why would I look for any other goal besides that? But don't you long for eternal life? Good question. I really don't know or even consider how many years I will live. I simply want to have the longest possible life to cover all my goals. That is something that a normal human life could not cover. At first, I planned my hopes to be 300 years, thinking that maybe my goals would be done and I could rest. However, Alpha suggested I extend my life because, according to her, Elves live 400 years to 600. Probably Alpha was challenging me that I couldn't live longer? Eternal life is not a bad goal. I could achieve it thanks to my magic, which increases with the passage of time, and with the help of my magical control, my lifespan increases more and more, approximately 300 years with the perfect body. I don't know yet. Probably not. But why, Master? You are a human if you don't have eternal life. I can really live many years if I set my mind to it. Really? It's easy for me to achieve a longer life than a normal human can. I can reach 600 years if I wanted to. He can live 600 years? At least I won't have to worry if something happens to him because of old age. But that wouldn't be enough, Master. What are you talking about? You will rule over the world. You will be the ultimate eminence in the shadows once we finish off the organization that is preventing our goals. But have you stopped to think about what we will do next? Alpha-sama suggested dispersing Shadow Garden and that everyone continue their lives, but Alpha-sama does not understand. If that happens, the world will be in chaos. It needs a leader. An organization that supports the organization that is preventing our goal. Give a new reform, a new way of life, so that they know their new god. Organization? I imagine it's the typical, cliché organization that has underbosses in the shadows that the shadowy eminence once faced, and that controls the world, but without them, the world is also destroyed. How can something that keeps it stable but destroys it? Becoming a god? That could be interesting, however. Receiving so much attention as an eminence in the shadows could ruin my reputation. Organization? Does it have something to do with the guys who were hunting me and my brother? But does that mean they're looking for my brother to replace that devil cult and become something of a leader? Maybe that has something to do with the words the strange feline mentioned earlier about Alpha-sama, which she shouldn't have mentioned. The only thing I can understand is that my brother is surrounded by very strange and weird people. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm planning on what you're talking about. Shadow-sama, I don't want you to die. Die? You probably plan a limited life and you'll leave, but even if I die, I don't want you to die. I truly wish for you to guide the new generations. Everyone needs to know about you. You can't leave. I just want to try to get you to give us all the knowledge of shadows. Zeta. I have already passed on the knowledge of the shadows. The knowledge of the shadows is not what matters in a new world, but what you have learned and will apply in this new world. I can't understand it, teacher. Someday you'll understand. When you discover more about the meaning of this world and not just the Zeta darkness. The master is incredible. Does that mean he had already contemplated everything that was happening? That is logical. If the master had already contemplated that sooner or later we could end the Diabolos cult, he would also have contemplated what we would do next. He is always ahead of everything. Alpha-sama would never understand what the master is planning. I thought that Alpha-sama, being second in command, could understand it, but the master understood my idea and only answered me as always calmly. If he already has the solution to the new world that will approach after the fall of the cult, that means that the master has already contemplated everything. In that case, my existence and the reason for my purpose are not valid here. That makes sense. Master, in that case, I fulfilled my duty because of the offenses and sins I committed before without realizing that you had it in mind, as I expected. It's probably not the best way to pay for my sins. Task? Zeta materialized a slime dagger and tried to fit it around his neck. However, before he could do so, a sound was heard. Cid had stopped Zeta's dagger with a magic thread and had also immobilized Zeta. What's happening? Was she going to kill herself? I can't understand what's happening anymore. What are you planning to do? Since my goals and deepest fears have finally been resolved, I believe it is the right time to leave this world, Master. According to whom? It's the law of shadows. If someone loses their usefulness, they become disposable. I don't know that rule, and I'm not really interested. I live because I want to, and I'm interested in living because I have ambitions and plans. If you feel like your life is over, you'll do it, go ahead, but I think you should think a little about what's around you before making an unnecessary haste. Am I around? What I have around me is already in front of my master, My goal is achieved and my reason for existing. Are you sure? Completely. Why do you hide your heart and soul? The gaze of a person who limits their happiness to do something in exchange for owing someone a favor and finds that as a replacement for their true happiness, which is covered up. I don't know who your goal is or what the reason is, but if you've already achieved your goal, why don't you open your mind a little now? How could I do it? The reason for my existence is. Who decides for you? That's interesting, but you're also not happy with your decision. Who? You. What do you really want? I just want the one person who showed me the path of light and shadows to exist forever, even if it means sacrificing everything. If you've already achieved your goal, you can start from scratch with a new one you've planned. I'm not interested in other people's lives or how they choose, but I think it's a bit harsh that you decide to throw everything away just for one person. If it's your decision, make it. But I think it would be good for you to think about others first, and go back to your own life from years ago to try to make a better decision. Are you talking about whether they'll be sad after my departure? Whether you'll be? I appreciate those words, though, Master. Nothing could make me happier, even if it were false. Deep down, it would make me happy even if it weren't. Perhaps it really would be that everyone and you are well. Perhaps your family? Your own existence? My family. Zeta froze after hearing those words again. Her family, who didn't want to remember who a stain prevented her from being able to pass to the family memories that she had hidden in her heart, which she restricted to avoid losing focus on her goal again and not making more mistakes. Those words that she avoided hearing. Would her family agree with the decisions she always made? Above all, was she happy? She always convinced herself that it was the right thing to do for someone's well-being, but if that ended, what would she do? Afraid of being disappointed again, of being useless again, she would just leave. But she never thought that person would ask her something that would touch her heart. What should I do? Aside from our mission to hunt in the shadows, look in your reflection to see what makes you want to live longer, to enjoy life. The reason for my life. Cid had finished healing Delta, who began to get up, surprised by her boss's skill but also happy. The pain is gone, Disa, the boss is amazing. Delta jumped on Cid, licking his face while the latter continued stroking his head. The reason for living, I understand. The reason for living for me is that I can continue to observe the Master. That's really what I wish for. Although deep down I wish for him to be happy. I want to be able to stay alive so I can be by his side until my life is extinguished. If I can continue to see the Master happy and learn more new things from him, that gives me meaning. Zeta gave a slight smile as he clenched his fists. I understand now, teacher. Zeta threw herself at Cid, trying to compete with Delta, preventing her from getting close to Cid completely. Both forced themselves to fight each other, trying to win. Cid, on the other hand, just stayed on the ground for a few moments in a bored manner. Despite the fact that Zeta tried to kill Delta a few moments ago, the whole thing had gone backwards in a competition like that. After all, it is their complicated relationship of rivals. Hannah looked at the scene and remembered a little of her past when her friends sometimes competed with each other. To talk to one of Hannah's friends, she simply gave a short smile that lasted a few minutes. Images of her old friends had appeared in the three. I understand. That's how you are after all. I can understand now why they chose you, brother. However, just because I respect them doesn't mean I'll let them get close to you easily. Some time later. How do you feel? The wounds have healed. Thank you, brother. Basu. Are you completely healthy now, Disa? That's true. I didn't bring your medicine, Master. But I have it with me now. Do you need it? Certainly. I'm still a little sick, but my body is responding with antibodies. Still, I think it's best to be safe. You're right. Zeta took out of his pocket a mysterious potion with a green color that shone a little. Is that Master's medicine, Disa? Isn't it poisoned? It isn't. A few moments ago you tried to kill us. I wouldn't trust you. Okay, give it to me. Huh? Wait a minute. Do you even know if it's poison? It's not necessary. Even if it were, it would be useless, but my trust lies in Zeta. She's given me remedies before to deal with these types of situations. Zeta blushed a little upon hearing her master's words. With a little gratitude, she handed him the potion she had with her. She agreed, and before taking it, she used her magic eye looking through the bottle. The bottle itself did not give off any toxic substance or anything like that. Cid was a little hesitant whether to take it or not, since probably the taste, like in his old life when they took medicine, there was always the habit of them having a bad taste. Then Cid, remembering the bad times he went through being sick, and remembering that thanks to that his gold had been lost. Finally he gathered his courage and drank the whole thing in one gulp of the small potion. Such a feat had been seen by the three girls, who had been surprised by Cid's action. "Take it easy, do you want to die? The boss is amazing, sir. Do you feel any master change?" "I don't feel any changes yet. Perhaps it's a potion that takes a little time to take effect. In that case, I just have to wait. I'd really prefer not to rely on medicine in these cases, but with this in mind. Next time, I could try to replicate something and use my magic to make it possible. This way, I'll avoid medical expenses, and it helps that if I ever face someone specialized in creating diseases, I'll be immune. I'm actually immune to any disease thanks to mana and detoxifying magic. But it's not a skill I have 100% polished. Now that I think about it, it did lessen my fatigue a bit." Both Zeta and Delta were happy and relieved to hear that from Cid. On the other hand, Hannah, who noticed Cid's lie, decided not to say anything. "So the teacher is recovered? Can we go out hunting like usual, sir? I'd still say I need a little time. And the mild symptoms to go away, so I can't. The good news is that with this, I'll be able to continue my journey of self-discovery." "Self-discovery journey, sir? Master, Alpha Sama says you must return to Midar as soon as possible and return to classes. The farce they're covering up for you is getting more and more complicated, and we don't know how much time we have left." "That's true. I forgot about that. Apparently the girls were covering for me while I wasn't in class. I'd given up on that semester and had given up on mob activities for a while I went on my journey of self-discovery, but the girls managed to cover for me. I guess the least I could do as thanks would be to return, though. Even though I need to discover more things, and if I return to Midgar, I don't think I'll find them. I'm looking for answers about something, so I can't go back yet." "Answers? What kind of answers, brother?" "It's really a private thing. I heard that a few kilometers away in a mini-town there was a small village where it was customary to obtain information through a ritual, but I don't know if that's what you're looking for. Give me more details." "However, it seems they worship a strange god, with whom they often perform rituals. My future mission was actually to visit that village and get answers for your plan for eternal life, but I later discarded it because I thought I didn't need it." "A god? Could it be the one who visited my first dreams?" "No, that would be very convenient. He was probably part of my nightmares. However, that means there are also gods in this world, whether fictional or real." "Interesting, that's really interesting. That ritual is called the Voice of Destiny because if you are worthy of the ritual, you will be able to find the answers you are looking for. But if you are not worthy, it is said that a curse will lurk over you that will ruin your life. The most logical thing is always a but. However, I don't have time to visit more places. I could not go back, but I wouldn't want to deal with annoying girls, especially since I plan to get my mob life back, and it will be a pain to start from scratch now that I think about it more carefully. If all my doubts can be resolved in one place, I should try it. What could go wrong? In that case, we'll travel, Zeta, you'll guide me." "Understood, Master. I want to go too, sir." "You're hopeless. In that case, I'll accompany you just to make sure you're not trying anything on me." "Hey! It's okay, it's okay. What a pain to deal with all three of them at the same time. At least now I can count on the fact that the job will be easier with your support. Anyway, I don't mind the idea of going with someone for now. But before we leave, shouldn't we take a day off? My brother is still sick, and I don't want to risk him fainting halfway there." "Are you my mom?" "It's certainly possible. We'll have to wait a bit for the medicine I gave you, Master, to take full effect and eliminate any traces before we can be sure to start. Besides, if you use too much magic, it could slow down your condition. Delta agrees, Disa. For some reason I feel like I'm being treated like a little kid who's sick and helpless. That's fine. I still have to pay the rent to the owner of this apartment for letting me stay. Does he charge you rent? Do you want me to kill him, teacher? Don't be an extremist, it's just a matter of giving a little money. In that case, take this, Disa. Delta handed Cid a bag that he took out of his pocket. It held several shiny pieces of gold. Upon seeing the gold, Cid lunged and greedily grabbed it. Well, where did you find this? It was actually in. I don't care, good work, Delta. Oh yes, my gold, my precious gold, my gold, how much I miss you. I brought something too. Hannah had taken out another bag which was even fuller. Upon seeing it, Cid immediately grabbed it without Hannah realizing it. He hugged both bags while being happy about the situation that was occurring. I didn't know that gold made the teacher so happy. You wouldn't understand, Cat. My brother is a gold lover. He would marry gold. Gold is the greatest ambition in the world and the most important thing. Yes, I think I exaggerated when I showed it to Hannah because I like the gold, but who the hell cares? I'll enjoy this longer. I finally have my gold. If we're talking about gold, I know more about the subject than you. Interesting. But did you know my brother liked it? Of course. Why were you shaking? I'm not trembling. It's okay. People often tell lies to look good, but I didn't know you were one of those people. I understand. What about you? Do you know the monetary values? How to invest it and earn more when it decreases and increases, and how to get it for the teacher. Why would I be interested in that if it's just about getting it and that's it? Is there any value in knowing the values of investing it, or does it decrease and increase if my brother spends it badly anyway? The teacher does not spend it incorrectly. You don't live with him. My argument is valid, yours is flawed without proof. Do you have proof? Very simple. Have you never thought once in your life why he invests so much in his decorations? Wait, Hannah, don't say that. Because? He likes Lou. Cid covered Hannah's mouth, preventing her from saying what she was about to say. It's no big deal. If you say so, teacher. What are we going to do with these shiny spheres, Disu? It's called gold. And one of my missions was to obtain it was solve a matter. I see, Disu. Yes, of course, one matter. Well, now that we have my gold, let's go. Wait, you didn't even ask me what happened to make me come home hurt? Hey. The situation? I'm sure you don't care or are interested anyway. Do you think I'm that cruel? Yeah. Please flatter me. That wasn't flattery. I shouldn't have come back in the first place. His second tantrum? I understand. This is what they call sibling fights? Very good, Hannah, you do a good job imitating your role. I brought my arm closer and stroked Hannah's head. I made sure to look her in the eyes. She simply maintained her neutral expression as always. Her expression didn't cause me any surprise since I met Hannah. She was always like that. She never smiled or cried. It was strange to see her like that. What did she look like? Now that I think about it, I don't even remember her having any other expression when I met her. If you're going to spoil me without attitude, you better not do it. All right. It's a lie. It doesn't bother me. I understand. It seems like she hides the fact that it makes her happy when I cuddle her. Is this feeling like an older brother? In my past life I never had a younger brother to take care of. My only brother was older, and he barely spoke to me, but I followed the steps I read in Perfect Mob Lives. One of those was that if you had a younger brother or sister, fights were natural, but also trying to show affection. Hannah may not feel anything when she feels my cold touch, but I don't mind pampering her, and that's what I want to try to convey. Keep trying, girl. Chapter 19. Are you sure about the decision you're going to make, teacher? The questions I still have with me can't be answered. Time is running out. It's annoying that no matter how many trips I take, I can't solve the problem. Does that have anything to do with the problem you're currently suffering from? The problem. You're perceptive, Zeta. It would be pointless to hide it. You'd all find out sooner or later anyway. If the teacher thinks she needs that ritual to feel better, I fully support you, but are you sure about your decision not to tell the others? Yes. If Alpha and the others found out about my decision, they'd harass me even more than they already are. They probably wouldn't leave me alone. And the most I want to do now is simply end all of this. Don't you think that the decision to do something quickly could have consequences? Probably. So, Zeta, you don't have to worry so much after all. I assigned you this mission for something. All right, Master. I won't interfere anymore. After all, the last thing I want to do is become a burden. Your will is my wish. Yeah, whatever, won't you two have problems with Alpha for not coming back? It's true, Alpha-sama told me that I could only be with you for one day if she gets mad at me, Disa. How distracted she is. Ami didn't give me any specific orders. And even if she did, my priority is you, Master. Have you thought about what you'll do if the ritual fails, brother? There's also a chance that what you think will come true. It won't happen, or it ends without convincing you. If so, will you continue traveling? I don't know. How careless you are. I wouldn't say that. The teacher knows perfectly well that there is a chance of failure. Could it fail? Is there such a thing as a possibility? I thought it was 100% guaranteed to work. If it fails, what will I do? I have no choice anyway. It's just going to be my last day away. Because it's been 3 months since I left Midar and the school and the girls. If I take any longer, the chances of Alpha and the others getting upset with me increase. But that's not what's worrying. I didn't think about it before. Probably some things I had in mind might be ruined if I take any more. However, the nightmares are annoying. They're really annoying. I can't take the nightmares anymore. So far, since Zeta and Delta have been with me, I haven't had any strange symptoms. These days. When I was sick either. It's almost a miracle that I didn't experience any changes throughout the week. But can I trust that it will always be like this? Why didn't I feel anything when Zeta and Delta were with me? Do they have some kind of ability? No. If that were true, then when I was sick, I must have been sick too. Does that mean they only show up when I'm healthy? Or maybe they only show up at unusual times? Why don't I always have nightmares, now that I think about it? Since I left Midar, they've lessened quite a bit. I wouldn't mind if Delta and Zeta were with me a little longer. I think I don't want to have any more hallucinations. However, it's an impossible wish. Delta and Zeta have their jobs and Alpha instructs them on rules for their own work. If I ask them for a mission with the excuse that I just want them to stay here, Alpha would get upset with me for having both of them by my side for so long. Basu? Are you okay? A question. Delta, will you go back to Alpha? Yes, Disa. My time is up. I could only stay here until dawn. Even if I exceeded the time limit, Alpha-sama is going to scold me for this. Disa. I understand. And you, Zeta? Personally, I was planning to stay longer. But Alpha-sama must be waiting for my report. But whatever decision the master makes is the one I will follow. Stay, Zeta. Come back. Are you sure, teacher? Yes. After all, Alpha is going to scold you if you don't return with your homework. I don't really care that much about Alpha-sama. But if you say so, I will, Master. If you need anything, don't hesitate to see me. I'll come right away. Yeah. Both felines said goodbye to their master. Delta, on the other hand, gave him a big smile before leaving and left through the window. Zeta, on the other hand, withdrew with her mist technique as quickly as possible, not without first wishing her teacher luck and giving Hannah a serious look, who the latter only looked at her with her unimportant poker face. Zeta had also left her the exact location of the town where Cid was going to leave soon for his goal of carrying out the test of the voice of destiny. Both left Cid Kagenou's room. The atmosphere returned to how it was before. Now Cid and Hannah were alone as they always were for 3 months since Cid left Midar, and 2 months ago Cid found little Hannah and rescued her, and they became friends. And 1 week ago Cid Kagenou fell ill and Zeta and Delta visited him. And when Cid began to receive visits from the shadows starting with Alpha 2 weeks ago, and now Delta and Zeta. With the shadows close, Cid felt a slight strangeness of nostalgia inside him. After all, he had spent 3 months without knowing anything about the 7 shadows or Midgar. Also, about his family, the friends and NPCs he had formed in Midgar. All of this for the first time in his life, and something that was unexpected and he did not think to do. He made the decision to throw it away to take his journey of self-discovery. Anyway, I can continue my life as a mob and eminence. If the girls decide to distance themselves from me after this, or if the NPCs I trained in Midgar forget me, I can start over from scratch. Certainly, even I would feel a little discouraged starting something like that from scratch, but in this world, decisions require sacrifice, and I will sacrifice whatever is necessary to achieve my goal. The problem I'm dealing with is starting to affect my goal. That's why I need to make this decision. The thought that the 7 shadows saw him again felt nostalgic. In his subconscious he thought that they would simply continue with their normal lives with which they have been working for the rest of their lives. In reality, Cid Kagenou always believed that the girls already had their lives and they simply played along with his eminence in the shadows, but that they had other occupations. He would never imagine something like the 7 Shadows created Shadow Garden with more than 700 members, or the 7 Shadows doing missions in the shadows, or being millionaires and owners of the richest company Mitsugoshi. That the Diabolos cult is real, or that the girls are now considered a huge organization apart from the cult. Cid Kagenou simply continues his solitary path with the company of companions who play along with him. It is all he believed when the girls accompanied him on his missions. He even had a thought about Delta being cared for by Alpha, since he used to mention her a lot, believing that Alpha had already formed her own life, and as of the 7 shadows she was the one he loved the most apart from him. He had Delta perhaps. Zeta had adopted her because of her way of being. He thought that she had become a super-secret spy or thief who earned well. You all live your lives and that's how it should be. It's probably a bit soon to say goodbye. Well, I don't think so. You all play my games on a whim. I appreciate that, but I think it's time to say goodbye. I don't know if I'll ever return to Midgar. If I do return to Midgar, I probably won't see you again, but that doesn't matter. I've already proven that you all live well, and that's all I need to know. After all, my path is to be the eminence in the shadows. I don't think you want to be on the side of a person who's already completely immersed themselves in their path. We all have different goals, and we all have different paths. I am the darkness. You have some darkness, but also light. That's why I must do it alone. Types of thoughts I imagined would be like this when I was imagining the day I said goodbye to the girls. Honestly, I didn't think it would be so soon. I'm probably exaggerating. Will I leave or will I leave? I just feel nostalgic. Should I write them a letter? No, it's fine after all. They'll understand. I completely forgot that it was only 3 months, but for me it was 3 years since I saw Delta and Zeta. When I saw them, the first thing they did was the typical things they always did. Fight. Mark me. Cause me problems. It wasn't hard for me to relate to them again naturally. But when they left, I felt a little sad. I would have liked them to stay with me a little longer. But it's not necessary. I felt a light squeeze on my right arm. When I looked over, I noticed Hannah. She was staring at me the same way she always did. Her eyes looked over at me as if she were trying to give me a message. They are not bad companions, I guess. The way you spoke to them, I'd never seen from you before with other people or even with me. You didn't hide any lies. You seemed to be almost completely honest when they asked you something or found out something about you. In a way, it makes me a little envious. Especially the one with the black hair. Are you jealous? Jealousy? What is that? Didn't you go to school? Sorry. I forgot what happened. All right. But about your statement from before, it's not that I'm sincere. They're both just innocent-minded. They could never understand what I do or think. They don't interfere in my plans or question me about anything. If I order them to do something, they obey me. They don't steal my ideas. It's easy to deal with them. That's why I have no problem talking to them. I understand. And me? Are you kidding? I barely even realize you exist. Hana tried to kick me, which I dodged. She just clenched her fists. Her expression and her eyes didn't reveal it, but the force with which she clenched her fists gave her away. She was upset with me. How fun it is to take advantage of the fact that I'm so strong that she can't touch me and say anything that will make her mad. Now I can understand a little about what my old life was like. So you'll leave that voice of destiny? I still don't think it's a reliable idea coming from someone who just tried to kill me and her own companion. If you don't want to come, then stay. I have to go. I don't want to be seen again by that girl or that guy with weird glasses anyway. Will you come with me? Is something wrong? I thought you were going to say something like, if you give me gold, I'll go, or can't you? It's a mission I'll do, and it's important to me. Nothing happens. Cid took Hana's head. When she noticed it, she looked at Cid in confusion. For some reason, the grip she felt on her head was a little different from the pampering she received before. Acted or masked pampering, that meant nothing, but she accepted it because the fact that Cid took the trouble to try to make her believe he loved her was something she appreciated. She felt that the hand with which she was taken was cold, a hand that had many mixed emotions. It was difficult to know which one stood out more than the other. But what Hana felt made her feel a little strange about the attitude with which Cid decided to take it. At first, she thought it was Cid acting like always, and this time he was hiding his emotions so well that it was difficult for Hana. After all, he always studied how to make Hana believe that he truly felt the emotion of a brother, but it was something completely useless due to Hana's ability. However, for the first time, Hana's ability didn't notice anything. What's going on? Are you really okay? What's the point of that question? If the test gives you that emotion, we can skip it. It's not really necessary to do it if you feel that way. I don't understand what you're talking about. Don't you know? I can see it clearly. His back is reflecting pain, but he refuses to tell me? Why can I only feel this again? Is he faking it? The light spectrum of Cid's body looked different from the other souls. It was a completely covered shadow spectrum. The light was barely visible, a bit Hana had already seen before what her brother hid inside, and the reason why Hana was always alert/afraid of her own brother. He was not a normal person. She did not need to know his memories or what he thought. She did not need to know if he lied in every word he told her or if it was the truth. The shadow soul of that person was so dark that it gave her chills. The only reason why she agreed to be with a person with those shadows was the desperation to remember that she wanted to live. She thought about deceiving that person, but if it did not work and she exterminated him, there was nothing to do. She lived in fear of her own brother. With the passage of time, she slowly began to stop seeing Cid that way. However, the feeling of, he can kill me if he wants to, but they don't understand why he doesn't, remains there. A kind of appreciation/fear continued in her. She did not want, and does not want to see Cid that way. However, her senses can't help but warn her every time she lives with him. Before, she was so afraid of being near him that now she tries to hit him without fear that Cid will kill her. Sometimes Hana thinks, why did I tell him that? Why did I attack him? Am I crazy? He can kill me, he can, but it's not like that. No, if it is like that. An internal turmoil had been brewing in her all that time. Now that she'd observed Cid's interaction with Delta and Zeta, some of that fear had diminished, along with a new feeling that she hadn't been able to suppress. It seemed her mind saw Cid as a brother figure, but her subconscious wanted to deny it. He's dark, but he's kind. He's a kind man. But why does this dark person now have such a sad color in his soul? Why, when he held my head, I felt that sadness even more? I don't understand. His words don't tell me anything. I can't understand you. You could have killed me on several occasions, couldn't you? Even now you can do it. You can kill me. I always feel that darkness and that desiring you when I'm with you. I can never help it. So why do you have that trust now, and why do you show that feeling now? You are darkness. Like everyone should be. But you always try to give me help. Sometimes I forget why I'm still with you. I discover new things, but the feeling doesn't go away. Kill you? Why would I kill you? I'm useless lately. I can't give you what you want, and all I have to do is complain. I don't know if you're prolonging my life to make me suffer like everyone else. I have no interest in killing you or making you suffer anything like that. Darkness? Well, really, how can I put it? If I told you, you'd lose your mind. Something I wouldn't want to happen. Why? Why you again? Even the eminence in the shadows has to bear the weight of carrying the shadows in him. If you know the weight will be too much burden. I am not interested in killing people or hurting them for no reason. You never tried to kill me with real intentions. So I would have no reason to attack you. That girl you saved before, why did you do it? Let's just say that besides being my partner, she has a purpose and a life to fulfill on her own. I'm actually a little envious of people who have such clear goals. Why are you looking at me with those eyes? Everyone does. And they always show a different color than I thought you did. You'd be different than you always were. For some reason I can't detach myself even though I know you're not interested in me. I can't help but feel the emotion no matter how much I restrict it from appreciating you. The bad thing about people knowing part of Cid Kagenou's true personality is the inner dilemma that Cid Kagenou causes, not only because he doesn't like it, and it makes him uncomfortable for people to know how he really is, but because people only see the mask that he uses, and more. Hannah has the strong feeling that Cid is a person who doesn't love her but shows her false feelings of love. She doesn't know what to believe now. She doesn't know if the person she classifies as a brother. Now that she has presented multiple emotions, she feels something precise if he lies, she knows it, and he always lies most of the time. However, she knows it perfectly well, and she can't help but feel appreciation for him because even though her soul refuses, her mentality and heart feel relieved to be alive. And Cid had something to do with making that come true. The mental and spiritual dilemma is a point of human beings that is hard to overcome. The first person who knows what I'm like now is freaking out. Interesting, but I have to admit I don't dislike Hannah not because she's useful to me. Because Hannah is the only person I've been with for so long being who I am without any problems, and despite that she hasn't gone away even now. I'm overwhelmed. I'm lost. I'm slowly falling into darkness. What are you? I want to achieve my goal, but every time I get closer, a new obstacle stops me and I feel like it's further away. When I break up with someone, it becomes more normal. I can't feel anything or understand what others think. I can only try to have a little empathy. Despite that, I continue to fulfill my goal of being a mob and being the eminence in the shadows. People who say that this is darkness, then that's why I will go further into the abyss if fulfilling my goal means it is darkness, and if fulfilling my goal means it is wrong. I've been wanting to be one for 30 years. I've been wanting to be one, and now I've found another wall. And it's nothing more than the overwhelm of desire. But I'm 30 years old, you know? 30 years old, haha, 30 years old in this world, and all I hear are the same words. Darkness, 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 darkness. Brother? Madness and madness and madness. I only heard that a few years ago. You know what? It doesn't interest me. But now, strangely, I'm not sure if what I'm doing, planning from my existence, is the right thing. That's why I want to eliminate it. I want to eliminate that which prevents me, but it's me. It's bucked up knowing that it's me. Why is the person who supposedly sacrificed everything to become the eminence in the shadows now moving away from that path? And now I'm forcing myself to leave it. For whom? For me. That's just a little of what I told you. Nobody knows me. And nobody ever will. If, despite this, you keep a little of what you've processed, you can say what you think. Why did you hide so many things from me? You're 12 years old. The information I'm coming from is more than 30 years older than you could possibly know. Did you know? Do you think I wouldn't realize you're afraid of my baby girl? It's easy for me to know that. But I never said anything because I have no reason to. Would it relieve you to know if I knew and let you know? It would confuse you even more, the human mind, that's how it is. If you knew so much about that, why did you keep taking care of me? I tried to push you away, but you kept going, so it wasn't my problem anymore. Did you know why he did it? No. I thought you were a nice person. You can take me any way you want. Kind or evil, I am me. Free him. Cid clenched his fist and approached Hannah and grabbed her shirt. She didn't blink at Cid's action. She had a different look on her face than she usually had. Was it your plan? The last time you showed me that color, I couldn't tell what you were thinking, so I want to know. You didn't hear anything. Do it. Cid released Hannah and walked away from her and sat down on the couch, a little annoyance running through his mind. The girl had played him. She had told him more than she should have. Hannah discovered more about Cid. And this is something that not even Cid himself could have imagined was going to happen. He thought that by scaring Hannah, taking advantage of her fear of him because of his ability, which he already knew, he wouldn't have any problems with her. In reality, he thought that Hannah was simply going to abandon him halfway, but now the roles were completely reversed. Cid felt a warm sensation. Hannah approached him and stood behind him, stroking his hair. I don't want your pity. Okay. You can continue with that as long as you want. Why are you doing this? You are my brother. You saw my soul. I saw her, so what? You are a... The more you get even, if it makes you feel a different emotion than the one you've been carrying with you all the time, it means I'm doing my job well. What do you know about me? I can also see your soul, have you forgotten? I haven't forgotten, but now I see yours. I've finally learned more than what I saw superficially. I saw only darkness in you, but after seeing what you did, I knew that you weren't only darkness, but you were never going to tell me the reason why. I don't understand what you've been carrying with you all this time, but if you want to kill me for this, you can do it. If I manage to free your soul from that bond a little, I will have achieved my goal. Damn, how long have you been? Now I can see your color. Cid was speechless now. This girl had turned out to be someone completely different from what she imagined. She managed to manipulate the board by playing with her mind. She only needed one piece to put Cid against the ropes. Hannah's goal was for the real Cid who did not restrict his emotions and the Cid she knew to come out. The Cid who was Cid Kagenou and not a Cid who was full of different emotions and different lights. She could see him. It was all negative. But she knew that not always the negative could be bad. She learned it by seeing Cid. Seeing so much negative color in Cid, and sometimes only one, made her realize quickly that Cid was going through something. She would never act against him, not only out of fear of dying but because he was also the person who saved her. You have also cleared my doubts. CHT. Hannah continued caressing Cid's head. Cid Kagenou had never in his life experienced the emotion of love as such. His goal of being the eminence in the shadows always kept him busy and away from that goal he had in his life. The feeling of warmth was something new to him. He never felt that warmth from his parents, or his current parents. For more than 30 years he strived to fulfill his goal alone, for something he was born and dedicated his existence, sacrificing everything that was necessary. I've seen hell too, bro. Was it hard? But you don't have to go through that hell any longer. After all, you once mentioned that if something obstructs you, you destroy it. But if you can't do it yourself, what my mother taught me is to take someone else's hand. I don't need your help, the eminence in the shadows can do anything. You love acting strong, don't you? But you told me before that you're overwhelmed. You went to the trouble of telling me a little about yourself to overwhelm me and make me stay away from you. Why don't you want help? You're sinking, but you know it, and you don't want anyone to help you. Why is that? Are you trying to keep them from getting involved with you out of love? Because if they try to help you, you're afraid something bad will happen to the helper. Why have you already given up and you don't think that option will work and you don't want to try it? Or you just don't want to? Unfortunately, I'm not like the people you've met. Maybe I'm broken too by what I'm about to do because I shouldn't get involved. But you're the first person I can call brother despite who you are. You don't know what I'm capable of. It's true. I don't know. I don't want to know or need to know. I believe and I still want to believe that you are the brother I knew. I apologize if it hurt you that I saw you as someone I was afraid of. Because the truth is that I love you. Stop it. Stop doing it. I love you and I'm so sorry I didn't realize it sooner. Enough. So, brother, you can set him free. Some strange drops began to fall from the black-haired man. For a few moments a strange sensation on his face felt like when it rained, and he felt that water slide down his face. His face could not take it anymore. He realized what was about to happen. He just lowered his gaze and with magic covered his face so that the little girl could not look at him. She knew what he was doing and did nothing. She just continued caressing her brother's hair. Hannah had not understood before why she was still with her trauma of trusting others. Her abilities scared her, and it scared her that good people always had something more. But she could understand. Cid, if he was bad or good, that did not matter anymore. After all, she no longer considers herself pure because of everything she carried with herself. She no longer cared about the side. She understood in that look of someone who tried not to reflect. Cid had those eyes with her and with Zeta and Delta. He tried not to. My face feels strange. Drops are falling non-stop from my eyes. My mind feels strange. What I thought would never come out is doing so, and I can't suppress it anymore even though I try. If I don't suppress my emotions, then my goal will go away. I wish to be the eminence in the shadows. Minora wanted it. Brother? Hannah felt Cid's body soften. His head had drooped a little. His pulse still sounded normal. He had fallen asleep. Hannah sighed, but a small smile had appeared. She laid Cid down on the couch and placed a mint on him. The little girl approached Cid and hugged him. I'm not the purest person in the world either. Doubting you was a mistake I can't forgive myself for. But it won't happen again now. I hope you can rest well. You deserve it. Chapter 20. In a faraway place in Midgar. This is your fabulous plan? I can't guarantee this will work out, but chances are high. If you're with us, you'll be in C3. Are you asking why I can't take care of it? Not at all. You're the most powerful, and I'm sure it'll be a piece of cake for you. The vessel I've been searching for hundreds of years. You know I don't appreciate you having information about me. I don't know who told you, or where you got your information about me. But recognize your place, rookie. If you try to trick me or do anything, you'll die. I would never do anything against the round tables of the Diabolos cult or anything dirty. My loyalty is permanent to the Diabolos cult, and my plan and life are dedicated to all those who have to do with the organization. Pitos adjusted his glasses while holding his documents. He looked at his documents, and a few drops of cold sweat ran down his body without being able to avoid it. The possibility of that boy with glasses who had just joined as a round table to replace the dead round table 10 of the Diabolos cult, and therefore was still a rookie. He did not stand out physically, nor did he lack great power. His specialty was being the one who experimented and gave ideas and strategies in the cult in part. Being one of the highest soldiers of the order who, due to his discoveries and potential, decided to ascend. However, he was not yet fully respected by any round table. The round table were against someone so weak being a round table, even if the position was empty. In their eyes it looked bad. Of all people, Pitos did not superficially see himself as someone worthy, but that was only the appearance. He saw some of the fights of that inevitable darkness. In all his observations he could only come to one conclusion that he agreed with. He was not human. Pitos, although he knew the organization well because he was not someone so new, he had his time in the cult. He did not know about how powerful the most powerful rounds were. He knew that they were evidently monsters. Loki was the example, and if there are 3 above Loki, it meant that he was dealing with a fearsome organization of people. But even so, Loki, seeing such power for the first time, could deduce it. It would not be possible to beat him no matter what. The 7 Shadows. The reason why Shadow Garden was giving more and more problems to the Diabolos cult was not because of the generals or the organization itself. It was about the leader who had great and enormous power. For a time he was watching any trace of the leader in order to investigate him closely, and barely managed to see the fight ended, and with him victorious. Pitos could not detect weaknesses in him. Pitos wanted to prevail that the cult of Diabolos was the winner. If this continued like this, it would not take long for the cult to fall to a critical point. To avoid everything that was happening, he spent months planning and studying everything about Shadow Garden. How they acted. when they acted. The possible leaders or commanders, judging their power and movements. The hours at which they acted. The leader, who was the most difficult because he did not act on anything specific like the elite numbers/soldiers of the organization, and it was only luck to be able to see him. All attempts were useless. What would be the point of knowing all the information about the world of Shadow Garden if he did not have something that could be useful to him? The Diabolos cult would not give him the support he deserved, and his reputation did not help him much. He had some special aids, but that was not going to be enough. You cannot fight something that has so much power that it is incomprehensible. In his desperation, he finally found something. The anomaly from 4 years ago that he had trapped among his documents, and had inexplicable power and energies. Perhaps if they obtained that anomaly they could discover something. But they could not use it to fight him. If they needed to defeat him, they needed not only his head, they needed something else. I finally managed to find a clue. Although I have everything calculated, I inexplicably feel cold, huh? Ha 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 ha, I guess not even I know if this plan will succeed. But I risked everything to do it. If this plan fails, I suppose the real one will be invincible, and with this the cult will no longer have any chance of winning. Maybe they do. But my existence is an impediment. Here I will test if everything of mine will work. I can't help thinking that it is a bad idea despite the contingency plans I have prepared in case this goes wrong. But those of the cult will come after me if I fail, and Shadow Garden will have me even more in their sights. I am practically doomed from now on not to fail. That would say. There's still one more step to go. I still need more time. 3 days later in the city of Beggar. The fate of that boy was already sealed. Under the light of darkness everything was. In the light and in the darkness. Only one stands out among all. Why was he born? His only mission was to be the eminence among the shadows. To be someone he dreamed of and aspired to be. Humans have that feeling, aspiring to something they themselves yearn for and desire. Why? Curiosity? Mystery? Love? Whatever. He lacked all of that. He just wanted to be the eminence in the shadows because he wanted to feel how the protagonists/antagonists/NPCs/supporting characters and background characters felt, and experience it. To experience the fact that they felt something attractive for something for a goal. As the years passed, his dream of being the eminence in the shadows began to be somewhat affected. Had he lost interest? Absolutely. The destiny of that child. He was nothing as such, he just wanted to be the eminence in the shadows because he wanted to fill his heart with darkness, because that was what it was like to be an eminence in the shadows. His heart could store darkness. But his heart could never understand something crucial, the love and empathy he never had in his past life. His parents were expecting everything from him. Amazing, he's amazing. He plays the piano excellently. We could make a lot of money with this. Should we sign him up for a job? Are you guys proud? I don't understand this. Playing the piano is just memorizing? No, for some reason when I play the piano I don't even think about anything. I just play and my fingers do the work while my mind is at peace with itself. Maybe that's why I found a good hobby in playing the piano. Previously I went to an appliance store of musical instruments. There were many guitars, the flute, the trumpet, they are all flashy. But when I saw the piano and played the first letter, I felt a small pang that told me to continue. I don't know, I just like playing it. Besides, it helps me a lot with my mob activities and acting, so I don't mind doing it. But I expected my mother to be a little surprised by my dream of being the eminence in the shadows. Maybe she wanted me to start with the basics. Starting too high was very selfish and difficult in that case. I'll continue with all the basics before going big. I decided to learn more arts after playing the piano. If I want to be an eminence in the shadows, I first need to be strong. I could try to learn all the martial arts. I suppose I could enroll in a dojo. But learning all the martial arts in dojos is impossible for me. My family doesn't have enough resources to travel to all the cities. But the internet helps me check tutorials. If I learn just by reading the information on the internet and applying it, it should be enough. But it's difficult, very difficult. As much as I want to learn a simple martial art, it would take me many years to learn it all, It would consume my life, but I want to do it. I want to be able to. Every day I learn more new things. I discovered something interesting while training. The body has a limit. The next day I would end up sore from constant exercise. I bought some weights with my allowance. I train with them while I train martial arts and focus my life on being a mob. I still have a long way to go. I can't continue like this. If I want to be the eminence in the shadows, things like fatigue at crucial moments will affect me. I think I have to get rid of the hobbies I had before. I have to get rid of everything that takes up my time, everything that hinders me. Dedicate myself only to one thing, training and studying to move on. Do you want to buy books on fictional magic? That's how it is. Understood. The boy began to buy some books which had advice on how to correctly use magic, how to store it, condense it, restrict it, and more. This while he held a dumbbell with his left arm, exercising. He wanted to fill his memory with knowledge, memorize every book that could give him some important information. Magic/curses/witchcraft, he absorbed all the data as if it were a human information vacuum cleaner. Everything was stored in his head. To prevent his mind from forgetting or distracting himself, he got rid of everything he didn't consider important. Promises/friendships/feelings at the wrong time. He just wanted to have a blank mind so he could digest information. His entire life he dedicated it entirely to two things. 2 life memories, one training the rest of the day in different martial arts and digesting knowledge, whether it be books or television programs, the internet if necessary too. He had to know everything. But he knew perfectly well that not even his entire life could he know everything. He read guides, he read documents that would help him digest many books in one alone. Even if he couldn't know everything, at least he wanted to know what was necessary before becoming the eminence in the shadows. Then he began physical training. His physical abilities were at a level he considered decent. Now it was time to test his luck. He beat up motorcycle thieves and gang members. He wasn't satisfied with his performance. He felt something was missing. He tried to make notes about what he could improve. Maybe his fist could be faster next time. Maybe he should learn more martial arts. Maybe he should have more physical strength. No, what he was looking for was to be the eminence in the shadows. But if he was looking to be the eminence in the shadows, then there was one clear goal and one objective. His mind said it at the same time that the words came out of his mouth. Magic. I need something more power. I don't have enough power. I'm not ready yet because I'm not. Magic, that's it. If I have magic, I'll be able to speed up everything. Everything will be easier. I need magic, I need more power. His long search for magic began. He digested more magic books than anything. He had discarded learning martial arts. He had already learned most of them. Unfortunately, to his bad luck, they weren't all martial arts, but that didn't matter now. The martial arts could wait. If he found magic, he would get that time back someday. Now there was a goal. The search for the mysterious. The path of magic that tells of fairy tales. It had been 3 years since the boy began his great path. Now he was 16 years old, he had mastered all the martial arts. He couldn't learn them all, but he knew the most important ones that he would use in his plots. His physical training was already paying off. He could easily defeat a person with a simple, well-connected blow from his crowbar that he always carried with him. But something was still incomplete. His search for magic failed. So many failed attempts made the boy increasingly desperate. He neglected his life. He neglected everything around him. Just to obtain magic, he wanted to obtain magic. He stopped learning hobbies. The hobbies that he had previously planned to learn for his mob routine, he discarded them. Only his piano talent remained. However, magic, which was the most important side, he couldn't obtain. So many attempts didn't work. Son, we're thinking of enrolling you in a piano academy. You could make our family name flourish once again if you're successful. You're coming back after running away, father? Why would I follow your orders? Son, my situation was difficult, but everything is settled now. With your talent, you will definitely save the Kagenou. I'm not interested. Why? We'll have money, maybe your image will be popular, you'll be. You're doing the same thing my mother did. Instilling in me what I should do. I already have a goal. Give up your trashy dream. What the hell could be better than money? You can do it, Kagenou. I did it all for you, remember? I bought you that piano. I paid for your school. My brother is dead. My mother has gone crazy. I'm currently barely earning enough to support myself in school. I don't plan on graduating due to lack of finances. We had plenty of money before you left, but you know what, father? I'm not interested in your motives. Come home or don't come home, I don't care. I think you should consider that yourself. But if you want to use me, you won't get it. You damn ungrateful bastard! Don't you know what you're talking about? You have the talent, you have the ability, you can get us out of this situation, and you think more about a pathetic dream of yours than that? Don't you care about your family? You do care a lot, father. That? Don't you think you should speak from your soul and not from your mouth? Your mother always thought you had talent. That time we saw your skill with the piano and any musical instrument, we knew it. NPC. Why can't you understand it? NPC, I don't know. You're a bucking worthless person. Your brother failed at what you could have become. I gave you the life you wanted, and I can continue to give it to you. I'm just asking you for one favor now, and you're abandoning me. Now you show anger, father. You show anger. Very well, you do it very well. But what? You showed anger, resentment, despair, and showed me how a typical, true NPC parent who abandons children acts. That acting is wonderful. But I feel like it's real. I guess it's because it's you, isn't it? Even though you tell lies, you really know how to affect the heart with your words. What are you talking about? But that's enough of games, father. Tell me the reason you came back. What is your goal? You. Father? But what have I done? Now you're acting again? I promise never to come near you again. But stay away from me. I don't want to see you again. You're not thinking of going back to that act of abandoning me, are you? Don't you think that was too much? I understand, father. You're crazy. Hey, is that a compliment? I hate your mother for what she's done, but I think you should stay away from her as much as possible. You know what? Screw her. That elegant-looking man started running away from the black-haired boy for no reason. He just stared at his father, who was running away from him. He extended his hand toward his father. I was hoping you wouldn't keep up that act because I really feel like you're really doing it, father, but emotions are a weakness, aren't they? You're teaching me to let go of that side of you. You're tough, so I can be good at my dream. Thank you, father. I'm learning more and more. This conversation I had with you has helped me. I think it's the last thing I need to do to let go of the past and continue with my goal. Time passed after that conversation I had with my father. It really helped me perfect some skills, although for some reason I felt uncomfortable when he said each word. I really felt a lot of discomfort, but emotions are going to prevent me from continuing with my goal. Focusing on revenge? I read mangas with protagonists that end like that. But I have a different goal, and my goal is above all else. If it wasn't difficult, it wouldn't make sense, I guess. Is that all you earned? I'm still a minor. I didn't get much yen. Buck off. This isn't even enough to cover the household expenses. It's your job to earn money. I can't make more money than I've already made. Then steal. Get something from anywhere and make something useful. Steal? Interesting, that would be the easiest way, but I'd have to pause my mob training to know how to do it properly. Wait, stealing ninja might be useful in a future plot. Thanks, mother, I'll do it. A slap resonated in the room. Minoru was taken by surprise by that slap. After all, he was distracted thinking about new plans, more ideas, more obstacles that he believed in his heart. It hurts. I think I don't want this anymore, but my mother, she told me that, right? Achieve a goal, I'm doing it. What am I failing at? Why? These emotions are clouding everything for me. Mother, you're making me see them a lot. First, father, and now I arrive and you're really hard on me, you know. I'll be the son you want me to be, I'm going to be, but stop hitting me for at least one day. But if you do, I'm probably going to break, so I need you to keep doing it to remind me that emotions are a weakness in combat and in thinking. Emotions are a weakness, and seeing my weakness so many times already upsets me so much that it can't affect me even then. I'm human, and I can feel it. I can feel anger, I can feel sadness, I can feel everything, but I try to contain it. Because if I become normal, I'll abandon my goal. The reason I'm doing this is why I'm afraid of forgetting my goal. Kagenou-kun. Kagenou-kun? NPC. Huh? Sorry. I was just memorizing the NPCs. You know, it's a bit complicated, but I already learned your name. Hey, but what? Nishimura-san. Kagenou-kun. What's up, Nishimura-san? My name is not Nishimura-san. Hey. My name is... Oh, I got the wrong NPC again. I'm sorry, you know I'm finishing my important stage lately. Hey. Nishino-san. For God's sake, how many times do I have to repeat to you, Kagenou-kun, my name is huh? Did he say my name right? You know, Nishino-san, I always remembered your name. You were on my NPC list. I wanted to try making you angry because I knew you were hiding something. Although I couldn't get anything important out of it. But now you know, don't you, Nishino-san? There's no need to use this anymore. My vision was a little blurry, but I managed to open my eyes properly. Had I fallen asleep? My body felt strangely relieved. Was sleep really that good for me? I had only slept yesterday, but for some reason, I feel a little relieved. Quite relieved. Good morning, brother. Good morning, Han. Is something wrong? Didn't you sleep? You were sleeping like a baby. It was really funny to see you like that, but then you babbled something like, Nishi, and it made me laugh. You are a... But you started moving strangely when you mentioned something about NPCs hugging yourself. I got scared for a moment. I was asleep. It was probably some involuntary movement. I can't remember anything after sleeping, which is strange. Normally, people have a limit of 5 minutes or more to remember their dreams, but I don't remember anything. I just remember my vision getting blurry and waking up on the couch. Alright. I'm sorry. Huh? Now that you're upset, why are you apologizing? Forget it. It was a joke. Yes, I heard you. Forgive me. No. Don't be like that. Tell me what you're apologizing for? I'll make myself a sandwich. I got up from the couch and started walking toward the kitchen. I was supposed to be leaving for the place Zeta asked me to go to, but that place will have to wait a little longer. I think I could use a little rest. What happened yesterday? Why can't I remember anything? It seems like I got drunk or something. Did Delta and Zeta do something to me? Nah. I'm already talking nonsense. Hey, I was up all night, you know? I'd at least like to hear a thank you. I was watching over you last night. Yes, of course. I stroked Hannah's head for a few moments. She lay on my lap for a few moments. You do it without emotion. I don't like it like that. Okay, that's fine. But it doesn't bother me. Lately she's been asking me to pamper her. She complains if I do it, and if I don't too. I can't understand her. Whatever, if she's going to leave me alone, I guess she's okay. Brother, do you remember what we talked about yesterday? Talk later? Yeah. No. I don't remember anything. Oh, really? Was it something important? No, it wasn't. Good thing he doesn't remember anything. When I hugged him, I felt him squeeze my arm so hard I almost thought he was going to break it. Why the hell did I tell him that whole speech yesterday anyway? Ugh, I'd better forget it. After all, he finally forgot. Hey, do you know what happened yesterday? Nothing happened. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Alright. I walked towards the kitchen and opened the pantry. There was some food, although not much. I think we went shopping yesterday? I don't remember. But at least there was food. What should I eat? It's breakfast, a mob. Nah, I don't feel like being a mob. I'm going to eat my favorite breakfast. Cereal, oh right, there are no cereals in this world yet. Well, I'll settle for some soup. I wish white cheese existed, it's delicious, but since... Are you going to make breakfast? Yes, I have. Hannah's stomach began to growl. She looked down at the floor after what had happened. Her poker face didn't reflect it, but her cheeks were slightly red. Do you want breakfast? Hey, are you really not sick? Okay, I changed my mind. I'm going to eat alone. No, if I'm hungry, I'm hungry. Some time had passed. Cid was using manna and heating his soup. He was cooking some rice along with some condiments, and some of Dad's brothy soup to mix. Hannah stared at Cid intently at everything he did. Deep down in her heart, she was looking for some way to thank Cid. She wanted to learn a little about what he did, but cooking was something she didn't dislike. Watching how Cid cooked in a fun way using the fire of his manna and making the food float, Hannah began to find it more interesting. Is he in a good mood? I can see he's very cheerful, but he's being a good brother. What's happening? Nothing. Keeps showing me how you do the magic trick you claim to do. It's very simple, girl. You do this first. I guess I was able to help a little, brother. I'm glad to know it. I'm really glad finally I'm good for something other than destruction. Lois-san, I did it. Brother, I have a question about what you're telling me. Which is it? Where are these stories from? Well, I used to listen to them as a kid, then I started researching them. They were really interesting. Then I used devices to watch them adapted. Adapted? There were people who played or acted out the characters in the story/tale, with the help of others and special effects. Special effects? They were kind of like advanced technology to make something look pretty. Oh. And they were tapes that you could watch on television in those days. Did they really do that where you lived? Sounds pretty cool. I want to see a DVD. Sorry. They don't exist anymore. But why did it sound pretty good? How could that be possible? I'll never see My Little Pony story that you told me like that. Hey, I told you a very sweet story, but I think I should have told you a more bittersweet one. I wouldn't want you to become a princess fanatic. What do you mean by that? You question my tastes. You yourself told me that story before going to sleep a month ago. I regret it. You really deserve good stories, not garbage. What do you mean, rubbish, brother? I'll show you what's good. Do you want to see it? Let's surprise me. I'm telling you right now that you won't change my mind. Please, you're going to cry? You're going to ask me to stop. Are you sure you want to see the story? Yes, I do. Besides, why would I cry over a made-up story? Ah, brat. So you already know it with that made-up story? You asked for it, you're going to suffer, I'll make you cry. I changed my opinion about you, what a bad brother you are. Oh, I'll enjoy it. Chapter 21. Some time had passed. The black-haired boy with eyes of the same color was telling a story to that girl with long white hair. A story. It was about a story in which a dog and its owner were inseparable. The owner had adopted that dog which was abandoned, raised it, and cared for it as if it were his own son. He gave it food and a warm home to live in. They played. However, the dog had a hard time adapting, but over time, the dog slowly learned to play so he could have fun with his master. This went on for days. His master was suddenly happy for no apparent reason. His daughter was pregnant, and she was married to her boyfriend. For a while, the dog was ignored because of the situation that was happening, but never neglected. Until the owner finally freed himself from the deal of playing with his pet again. After that time, but unfortunately, the owner was beginning to get sick due to age, which caused his pet to become alert. This one, who noticed something strange about his master, began to bark at him without letting himself be petted or played with. His owner did not understand what was happening. Thinking that his pet was angry with him, he resigned himself and just looked at him from afar, saying goodbye and starting the day as always. After all, even if his pet was angry with him or was sick with something that made him angry, he always used to leave, saying goodbye to his pet. One day his owner went out, but that day the pet would never have any idea that it would be his owner's last day. Still barking, trying to warn his owner, He simply walked away and went to a place narrating some things that he had in mind. The grandfather suddenly began to feel tired, and with some discomfort in his chest he tried to finish what he was saying. He continued, but the burning was so much that he got off that stage and sat on a chair waiting to rest. Unfortunately, a heart attack occurred and his heart stopped beating, falling to the ground unconscious. The people who were around him did not know what was happening, but they called emergency services. The dog, who was left waiting for his owner for a few days, could not know anything, so one of the many nights this tried to get free of the leash. Achieving his goal, this jumped the fence and tried to look for his owner. The dog was smart and knew by the smell of his owner's footsteps, and what was the last place where he was arrived at the outskirts of the plain near a statue. The dog was left outside in the middle of the snow, waiting for his master. However, he never came out. The days passed and his master never returned. The relatives, upon noticing the dog, tried to take him home. However, he refused. Just as when strangers tried to take him away, he simply refused that request. He only stayed waiting for one objective, for his master to return, and while he didn't return, he would stay there. The family offered him some snacks so that he wouldn't die of hunger. The people in the surrounding area learned about the story of that pet. Sad and moved, they could do nothing more than provide food to the poor pet who was waiting for his deceased master, even outside in the middle of the snow. The months and years passed. The pet slowly closed his eyes. That dog was already at a fairly advanced age, on the verge of death. He heard a voice call him, "Hachi." Looking at this, he noticed that the snow had disappeared. He only saw a white background and his master with a smile calling him. The dog began to feel his body light. He ran and pounced on his master, who petted him and played with him. Both were now together. The dog finally lost the light of his eyes and reunited with his master in the haze. At the end of it all, the government people had made a statue in commemoration of the story of both. The statue, called Hachi and his master, will now last forever. While Cid was narrating the story in a boring way, a small sound was heard. The boy noticed this and could see that the little girl had let out a very small sob, barely understandable, but there was no doubt that it was a sob. "Are you crying? It's your imagination. I can't believe a story like this makes you cry." "I'm not crying. It makes me laugh that you take the time to tell your sweet little sister a story. What a good brother you are." She was sobbing a little, but she managed to turn the situation around. "It's an unexpected turn." "Oh yeah? Thanks." Cid counterattacked with a friendly gesture to break his defense. "You're welcome. You're a sweet little brother to me." "That's what a kind brother would do, isn't it?" "That's too kind of you." Hannah fell into the trap and was almost overcome with sadness. She chose not to continue bothering Cid. He was getting more and more used to her tricks and more to a possible counterattack. Cid was no longer the same guy who'd set the same trap for twice. That was an undeniable fact. "Let's forget about it." "Can't you?" "Don't make me say it." "Actually, I do. I want you to say it." "It's okay. I can't take it anymore." "Did I say something wrong? I thought you'd resist. But you're so obedient when I ask you for something. Why? Is it because you're still afraid of me? You threatened to do something worse than death to me with some conditions that you implied. You're really no fun. I'm glad you still remember that, though. After all, that's how I was taught." "Hey! It's nothing. Aren't we leaving for the place you wanted to go yet? There's still a little time left. Why are you so pressured to leave now? After all, you've already said it. Once you finish leaving for that town of ruins, your goal and journey will be complete. You will return to that place called Midar. And here the adventure will end." "I guess so. Do you have anything else to tell me? Tell me something. Was I a good tool? Wasn't I a hindrance? Did I fulfill my purpose well? Why do you talk like I'm using you? I'd really like to live a good life, too. You know? But I guess it's something I can't avoid while I'm still around. Do you have something to say?" I was waiting for the moment when the end would come. The world isn't as fair as it seems. Someone like me couldn't receive long-lasting happiness. I was waiting for the moment when he would say the journey is over so I could return to that place. But now that it no longer exists, I'll still return to that place. I can feel it. The place where I only have memories and where I will probably end up. Do you want to say goodbye? If you're going to do it, at least don't make me feel responsible. The hope you gave me was truly something I'll never forget. I think you'll be the only person I'll ever be able to call brother. Ah, is it his Chanibia phase again? The things young people do in their youth are really weird. Do you want to leave? I don't know. I guess everything would be better than going back to that place, but it doesn't matter anymore. It stopped mattering a long time ago. But I think it's worse that this illusion continues, don't you think? I suppose you're right. However, I think you're confusing illusion with reality. Reality? Everything you experience. Everything that happens is not an illusion. If it were, your existence and nothing you experience would make sense. Calling a moment too good to be true or too bad to be true an illusion is synonymous, but ultimately you arrive at the same conclusion. If you call the time you spent or lived an illusion, then you don't know and will never know the most important meaning of life. The most important meaning of life? Something good and bad? What kind of thing could there be beyond what you mention? They taught you a very important phrase. To live every moment of your life, to appreciate every moment, how you slowly fulfill your goal and walk towards it. Things as simple as getting up and having a good meal, to have power to humiliate and take down bandits is what it means to live, is not an illusion. If something doesn't go my way, I just continue until I continue and am satisfied. I don't call it an illusion. Even if that were something too bad, I have a mindset which is consistent. You can't always wish for the good without something bad touching you. That would be selfish, and if it's vice versa, it depends on which side you're on, and if you start to experience the opposite side, you understand many things that with the blinded side you didn't understand. I can't understand it. We all have a purpose, don't we? We're all born for something, and what if we can't achieve it for something? What if you end up living life? Is it wrong? I look for someone who makes me feel right, and if for others it's wrong, as long as it's right for me, it's ideal. Seeking someone else's opinion isn't a quality of mine, just as it's not about overthinking life, you know? Why do you do it? I don't have a motive, only my own motive. If you want to follow your motive, and that's it, follow it. If it's not your true objective, sadly you will live in a poor illusion generated by yourself. I thought people were like that, you know. People can't have a special method to rely on. It's useless to try. There will always be one person born with a different personality and mentality. Trying to guess what other people are like is stupid. Why do you think I told you only you and only you matter? Why others don't matter? If others do something that obstructs your goals, you get rid of them. What matters is you. But a mentality like that will make you someone you won't want to be. Now you get the point. I should have done it, but that promise. Cid took Hannah's shoulder as he continued his speech. He was strangely relaxed, but his speech intensified a little. For some strange reason, the little girl felt a chill, not of terror, but of something more. An unusual chill. This time it wasn't like the others, it was different, it was something she had never experienced before. But now there is no promise that binds you, however. Don't follow that path. If you think that path will give you a happy life, it won't. What matters is what matters to you. It wouldn't be an illusion or a blind spot, because in that case, it's not your goal. I'm not doing it for that promise, but I think I want to finish this once and for all. No more promises. I just want to be me, not to be tied down anymore. When I live happily, something has to obstruct it, and my lack of strength doesn't help me, and if I use my strength, I do things I don't want to. What should I do? You can do it. But you'll become like them. I don't care if it guarantees my safety. There will come a point where you will fall so low that you will realize that you can no longer escape that darkness. You will have wasted your entire life on one goal. Why do you say that you've never understood it? You were always naturally strong, you were never cursed. It's a little. The darkness on the back of the person Hannah was looking over her shoulders only increased, and it did so in an inhuman way every second. That darkness grew so much that it seemed it would swallow everything completely. It was a darkness so terrifying that for the first time in a long time, she felt something beyond comprehension. I'm really not going to interfere in your life. You know what you want, and you should do. I don't have to do anything you're asking me for, not even give you this. But trust me. Cuckoo, you don't want to go down that road. If you had to have my advice, I'd stay away from that road as much as possible, but I wouldn't be on the other one either. I'd be at a dead end. Dead end of no return? You're very lucky, you can still get to that point. The balance I always sought and desired, you can have it. If you waste it, it will only be another failure. You're talking very ext. Hurry up if you're going to leave. The young man continued his walk and sat on his couch with no other concern than his own. He began to do his daily routine that he always used to do in the mornings, lifting those weights. Humanity only has one chance. The little girl walked back to her room. She sat down on her bed as she reflected on some things. She began to remember a little about her past, truly trying to remember beyond what she couldn't. For the first time, she just wanted an answer. Something that would give her a clue. Which path should she choose? What should she choose now? She couldn't choose, nor could she choose a path suitable for herself. The same little girl with sad eyes wanted to read more about her life for the first time. She wanted to know. She got up from her bed and looked at her mirror for a moment. I can only remember that day. The day she woke up and everyone was dead. She woke up in a strange place where she was constantly used as a tool and instilled in her by so many doctors. She clung only to the belief that her deceased, but unremembered, mother had told her earlier. Even though she didn't remember her, the words her mother had said to her that day were engraved deep within her soul. As time passed, those words began to lose their power. The girl's hope of getting out of that place became ineffective. What if she got out? Would it make sense to get out? What would she do? She had lost valuable years of her life that she could have spent in the outside world trying to figure out what her dream would be. She might seem like a more intelligent person to girls her age, but deep down she's still just a child who could never have a peaceful life to think clearly. The doctors, the hurtful comments, the physical and mental abuse, the experiments, her purpose according to the people who surrounded her in that room. They confused her mentality. She only clung to her mother's words to prevent those words from consuming her, like a kind of shield. But as time passed, the glow that gave a touch of hope in her soul that everything could be as before disappeared. She had reached the age where she could know her mother is dead. Her father is dead. Her friends from the orphanage are dead, the people who surrounded her are dead, and now she is locked in a strange place where she is treated only by the cold. A cold she had never felt before. She felt anger, she felt sadness, disappointment, she felt all of that because of herself and her fear of herself, but she had never felt the cold of being abandoned mentally. Her age allowed her to differentiate between the cold and the warmth of a place. What had she done to deserve everything that happened to her? The expectations she had of kind people lowered considerably. She opened her eyes and knew immediately it's cold. People aren't always kind. Every different person that enters that room is worse than the last. Something as simple as a good morning, like a dinner, is ready. Let's go out and play had been lost. She lost everything. Why should she now endure an environment that doesn't transmit that same feeling as the previous one? Why should she endure living like this? Why should she endure the loneliness, and the hope that more than hope was also a knife that hurt her more than any physical abuse? The hope of getting outside, but if I go out, what? What will it do? What will I do going out? I don't know. I just want to not suffer this anymore, but if I go out, no one will wait for me. Father and mother won't wait for me. If I ever get out, no one will be so kind to me. I will return to that cruel world. What is the difference between here and outside? But I want to live. I really want to live. But is it by my will because I am afraid to die, or is it because of that promise I made to mother? The promise that Hannah must continue living her life. Those were the words her mother had told her when she had almost lost control but was stopped in time. She felt again the absolute terror of her power that could hurt them all. The little girl only wanted to get away. Hannah's mother told her those words that the girl still holds in her heart. She never had a conversation within herself other than the promise. Thousands of other things prevented her from wanting to die even if she wanted to. Something was holding her back, but tiredness and desperation slowly tormented her with no return. It was a matter of as soon as she left the exterior that kept her locked away for those memories to return. The humanity that she thought she had abandoned. The voice of destiny. I was traveling right now toward that town rumored to have been nicknamed the Voice of Fate. The train in this beggar town is totally different than I imagined it, I mean. What the hell is this? It looks like a train that hasn't been maintained in at least 10 years, or a completely abandoned train. I knew this city was a bit strange, but I think this is a bit much. Is my way into town supposed to be like this? Well, I guess it's just the way it looks. I guess there are friendly people or rooms. I started walking when I opened one of the compartments, and noticed that 2 people were doing their business. When I was doing it, one of the people threw an object at me. Pervert! Ah! I fell to the ground. A figure started approaching me. It was Hannah. For some strange reason, she had finally agreed to come with me. Judging by the way she spoke yesterday, I thought she wasn't coming. Why did she agree to come? Could it be that it was all a tantrum and she's already over it? Are you really like that? Don't act like you don't know anything. It was a misunderstanding. Is this where we're going to travel? Apparently, the trains in this city look like this. It seems poverty is somewhat on the rise. Can't we go somewhere else? No. I paid for it in advance. Why did you do it if you didn't even know what it was going to look like? They refused to give me the tickets until I paid first, and I had to agree. It was the only train available at that time. You are someone too easy to fool. Whatever. We'll have to be here for a while. Did they even give you the room where we're going to stay? Hey. I started searching through my clothes for the key that was supposed to be for our room at the place we were traveling to, but I couldn't find it anywhere. I'd remembered. I didn't know. I asked the guy who was handing out the keys and went ahead. Can't this be where we're supposed to sleep? We can still go downstairs. Let's try to get them to give us something. Besides, I've already paid, so it wouldn't be fair if they still leave me without a room. Both Cid and Hannah began to advance again to the main entrance, but before they could advance further, a voice had been heard on the train they were traveling on. Passengers, the doors have closed. We can now conclude our journey to the destination town. Please remain in your seats. The room keys have the corresponding room number. Without further ado, we will depart. It just can't be. It's a shame, isn't it? Tisk. Why are you so stingy? It could all have been avoided if you hadn't decided to take such a cheap train. You had so much money, that weirdo and I gave you. Money must be well managed, otherwise it is spent very quickly, and I have priorities. If you weren't going to spend money on the trip, why didn't we fly with your power? Do you think I'm personal transportation? Then why the cheapest one? Okay. Don't get angry. Everything in life has a solution. Solution in life? How will we get out of this? Close your eyes and cover your ears. I have the solution, but I don't want you to know what I'm going to do. Wait, isn't there another way? Well, if you want to fall asleep in that seat with that gloomy view, then no. I don't want to, but do it. All right. Hannah closed her eyes and covered her ears, heeding Cid's warnings. The boy walked to the nearest room and bowed down before it. He formed a mask out of slime and slightly lengthened his hair, which was tied into a ponytail. His appearance had changed to that of John Smith, but without the luxurious suit. This didn't matter to Cid, who would only wear this incomplete outfit for this occasion, since he didn't like wearing incomplete outfits, considering them not identities. But this time the need was greater. He turned the knob and entered the room. Huh! Hey, what the hell? Before he could continue his dialogue, a network of threads had pulled out the passenger who was in his room. His mouth was tied to prevent him from making any noise. Cid gently and quietly took him outside without any noise or harm. His intention, after all, was not to kill a person for no reason. He left his belongings and other things lying outside while he remained immobile because of the threads. Cid approached while the passenger desperately tried to move, not understanding what was happening. I would recommend that you don't move. If you do, the threads will cut into your skin. Wait patiently in this place until a night frees you. I didn't make the threads that strong. Thanks for the room. Cid took the passenger and threw him out the large window, leaving him outside. What is he doing? Hannah continued with her eyes closed and her ears covered, but curiosity was invading her. But judging by the words her brother had said, she preferred not to open or uncover her ears because coming from Cid it wouldn't be something good, and she didn't want to be too influenced by him. The girl felt a hand touch her shoulder. When she opened her eyes, she noticed it was Cid, who had previously removed his disguise and returned to his mob appearance without any change. She uncovered her ears, assuming Cid had finished what he was doing. You can come now. What was it? In that case, I'll go ahead. Hey! Hannah began to follow Cid from behind. He was walking calmly. Watching him from behind, the little girl became a little thoughtful about what had happened the night before when she had argued with Cid. I feel like I wasn't fair to him. Even if I wanted to stop being with him, I think I shouldn't have told my brother everything. I've never complained so much in my entire life because I didn't have anyone who would listen to me, and if I complained my day would get worse. In that room I had to stay quiet. In the end I got used to it, but for some strange reason the outside feels very different than in that place. I couldn't help but say everything yesterday. But his attitude doesn't help either. For some strange reason when I'm around him it makes me want to say it. Anyway, I must apologize even though I was scared of him at first and never dared to say anything to him. Opening up to him and finding out nothing was wrong, all this time I was afraid that my brother would turn out to be like the others, that after a while he would get tired and leave me again. That I was simply going to cause another incident sooner or later, and someone close to me would die. But it's been 6 months since he and I met, and in all this time he hasn't shown anything hostile towards me. I kill myself thinking about what it could be. I don't want to let my guard down. But I don't think I really appreciated his feelings. I didn't expect that despite telling him everything I said yesterday, instead of ignoring me or walking away, he would say all those words to me. He's making it clear that he doesn't care what I do, but I can also sense, for some strange reason, that he doesn't want me to. Gosh, if you could just tell me that once, it would be easier for me to understand you. But isn't that just the way you are? Brother, about what happened last night. I wanted to apologize. I didn't have the best attitude with you yesterday. Nah. It's really something you had to tell me. I don't mind at all. Even so, if I made you angry with any words I said, I'm sorry. It's just that I never felt this strange emotion before. Don't think I'm sensitive. I've been told worse things than you've ever said. All I ever did was tell you how things are. Gosh, you're hopeless. I'm worried about you. And all you do is tell me you're not interested. I'm interested? One way or the other. Hannah sighed, and in turn a very light smile came to her face. Cid was a very strange guy, but she understood him more and more. Apparently he was someone who didn't like to express his feelings in a real way. For some strange reason, when Cid acted as a mob with other people, Cid was more confident in showing his feelings, but that was because Cid wasn't interested in others seeing his real side. After all, they weren't people that close to him, and he did it as if he were a method actor so that his role as a mob would improve. But when Cid was himself, it was more complicated for him to be sincere. More specifically, he could say if he was happy. Above all, he was someone who didn't want to admit things. Anyway, for Hannah it wasn't very difficult to interpret Cid better and better. The fear she felt of humans, of people because of what happened before, the fear she felt of herself was reduced thanks to that person who had taught her, despite all the fear she felt of the world, an important lesson. She felt that if she was by Cid's side, for some strange reason, he could understand her. It was strange, but she appreciated the time she was with him. Cid, on the other hand, also began to open up a little to the little girl, unlike before, where he wanted to get rid of her at all costs. He doesn't admit it, but it doesn't bother him that she's on her journey of self-discovery. After all, Cid is used to being alone and doing everything alone. Doing it with someone like Hannah, who for the first time was a person who could be however she wanted, was comfortable. It was fun to tease her and have deep conversations. Aside from the fact that unlike his sister Claire or other girls, Hannah didn't hurt him or look down on him, and her attitude certainly reminded him of him. A small instinct in Cid had been appearing very slowly. We have arrived. Cid opened the door handle to the room and everything was in order. The room certainly looked shabby. It only had one bed, a mirror, and blue curtains. It had a very small 4-drawer wardrobe and a small television. Also, a laundry basket and some useful materials. What a poor room! Is this really what you got? Don't blame me. It was either sleeping in a bed or on the floor. Besides, all the rooms are the same. How do you know? Very simple. By channeling mana into your eyes, you can see through physical structures. I don't believe you. Do you want me to do a test? Let's see. Hide something in your clothes. I won't see anything. I'll guess what you hid. How do I know you're not going to cheat on me? In that case, I'll close my eyes in front of you. Okay. I'll tell you when you open them. Cid closed his eyes while Hannah looked for something to wear and hide it in her clothes. After a few minutes, Hannah had finished. You can open your eyes, I'm ready. Cid opened his eyes and a bit of magic began to channel into them. These began to turn a red color, while some veins of magical energy highlighted them as if they were magically overloaded. He stared at Hannah, who got a little nervous to notice Cid's gaze, since his gaze made her somewhat uncomfortable. You hide a pack of candy. Tisk. Do you see it? That skill of yours is very useful. It's very easy to use, I could show it to you. No thanks, I'd rather not know. By the way, what are we supposed to eat? Actually, the food is already in the room, apparently. But it's canned until the trip ends tomorrow morning. They don't even provide service? Hot food? It's not even that clean. Do you think they'll have decent food? If I've learned anything from people, it's how stingy and greedy they are. And why are you looking at me? You're the main one, but these people are way ahead of you. It's not an insult to compare me to those people. They probably don't know any Slayer stealth techniques. Stealth what? It doesn't matter. Then I'll stay here. Are you staying too? I'm uncomfortable being outside. It seems like someone has been murdered, so I have no choice, but the bed is too small, so sleeping will be uncomfortable. They don't even have a sofa. So get used to it. You have your strange rubber power, couldn't you make me a soft structure? Okay, I'll do it. After all, I don't want you sleeping on the floor and getting sick. You'd cause me a lot of trouble. Just out of pity. Don't you even have a little love for me? And it's not called rubber. It has a name, it's slime. Don't forget it in your memory. My power is slime. I still don't know how you make this thing called slime. Very simple. Cid explained to Hannah the story in which he had obtained his slime. He previously visited a village, and in that village there were many strange beings, but they seemed lifeless. They were made of an elastic material that absorbed magic very well and was soft and very resistant. Cid, interested in it, acquired everything and tested it as a tool, experimenting with it in different ways. Without knowing it, Cid had turned into a massacre in the slime clan, since if they were alive, not looking like it was something else, and Cid had almost extinguished the slimes to use them as material. Cid molded them with magic as rubber/slime from his old life with cloth, and used them to make suits/tools/weapons, even special attacks and more variations. There came a point where Cid could create the slime with his own magic without having to take more foreign slime, this because Cid evolved so much in magical level that he could replicate some things like his original form, or even better. You really are a strange person. But it has served me quite well. Hey! You mentioned a place called Midgar before, didn't you? Yeah. Why is that place so important? I just enjoy doing my performances more. I guess I've gotten used to it, and I'm not that used to taking such a long solo trip away from everything I've been through. You live there, right? In that case, does your family know you left? Don't they know? What are you thinking? They probably are. It doesn't matter. Hey! That doesn't matter. My goals, if I need anything, it's above all. Even if I had to leave my old life behind. Don't they care about you and love you? Why do you come to these places for 6 months for no reason all of a sudden and... Enough of that. I just like to travel, don't overthink everything. Alright. Why does it seem like he's hiding something from me? No matter what, I can't get him to tell me. My brother probably has tons of things I don't know about him that are probably personal. Something probably happened. Your hair is strange. My hair? Every time you cut it, it always grows back long in a short time, and once it's long, it doesn't seem to grow back. That's always happened to me. I don't like having it long because it obstructs my vision. But I've gotten used to it. Do you want to keep it permanently short? I don't prefer it this way. Besides, I like it this way, so I can cut it as a hobby. I understand. Asking a girl about her hair is kind of weird, isn't it, bro? Only you see it that way. Some time passed as the train continued moving towards the town of the Voice of Destiny. The boy only looked out the window at the view while thinking of some plots to distract himself, as he always did. The little girl, on the other hand, turned her puzzle, although later she got a little bored and decided to turn on the television, which was in poor condition, and very few programs worked with interruptions. However, these programs did not exist in the orphanage, since she does not remember anything from that place. But she does not remember her stay as a captive either. It was something interesting to distract herself at least, but after a while she decided to turn off the programs. The ones that remained were not fun after a while, as if it were swallowing information. Apart from the fact that the train was in terrible condition, made the signal unusable. She noticed Cid, who was training with a force lever while she was looking at the sky through the windows. She approached Cid. Are you training so late? Yeah. Because? Training is important. My body can always improve, and my goal is the same. Although I think you're already strong enough, I don't know if so much exercise is necessary. Even if that's the case, I want to become stronger forever. You never know what might happen, right? I still have things to learn about power. I'm always going to need more power. It's okay. Now that I think about it, you know so many things I had no idea about. How do you know so much? I guess I practiced. He told me before that he was 30 years old. But what does that mean? Is he really 30 years old, or was it a lie? Should I ask him? However, if I do, he'll probably remember that conversation, and I wouldn't want him to. When he gets very defensive about not needing help, it's a problem. It doesn't matter anyway. I just know that he knows too many things. It doesn't surprise me that he already has female disciples. Do you happen to not get along with your family? I don't get along badly. Then why? My goals are simply my goals. They have their goals, and if they're my family, they'll understand. But don't you ever feel lonely that you've been away from what you loved most for so long? After all, families expect the best from their son or daughter when they achieve their goals or accomplish them. Even if it doesn't happen, at least you receive a lot of effort from your family and great love and support in your goals. I imagine you receive support, right? I'm tired, so I won't talk about it. All right. Cid sighed as he stared out the window and tightened his grip on the crowbar. It started to crack a little. He was now back to something he didn't want to be. Questioning himself about his past as a Cid Kagenou. Did his family know something so important? They were good mobs for being tough on him and following interesting plots. But why didn't they act kindly with him one day? The closest thing to kindness he received was the 7 shadows who undermined him for 12 years doing his homework, and him working on his own. Until that day when they grew so fast that he didn't realize they had to form their own lives, he was left alone again, and that small warmth was gone again. Recently, he was asked something about warmth. His darkness moved away from the light as the years passed, and he never paid attention to that. He felt a small shoulder lean against his arm. Turning around, he noticed it was Hannah who had leaned against his side while she slept, leaning against his arm. Cid, noticing this, tried to separate himself from Hannah, but noticing that it was very difficult, decided to wait until she fell completely asleep so he could get out of her embrace. As time passed and Cid tried to escape, he watched Hannah for a few moments. He remembered something interesting. It was the first time Hannah had fallen asleep in a long time. Hannah normally stayed up late with the excuse of keeping watch, but it was clearly because she was afraid something might happen. However, She had finally succumbed to exhaustion and fallen asleep. Hannah had fallen completely asleep. Taking advantage of this, Cid easily escaped using his newly developed shadow movement technique that he had developed against Rose and Alexia when they physically touched him. When he did, he began to walk and took a small sleeve, placing it over Hannah. Cid sighed as he looked at her. She certainly reminded him a bit of his older brother and his old life. Coincidences are strange. Is this part of the plot or just fate? Whatever. You're going to have to work hard from now on. For now, it's best if you rest. Chapter 22. In a city where laws abound but are constantly broken by those who possess the power to change what they have. Most cities and places the Diabolos cult has possession of them, whether in smaller or greater quantities. Some others remain hidden, trying to avoid that legendary organization already known throughout the world. Many tried to oppose them and failed hopelessly. Others died. The system was somewhat unequal. You could find cities where the system was peaceful, others where it wasn't. In the end, the conclusion was the same. The Diabolos cult always rules in the shadows because they have the power to do so. The birth of an anomaly was what made those plans fall apart. The birth of a special child with crimson eyes and dark hair. A reincarnated one that would put an end to the old system. But is defeating them really the key? What will come next? The regime continues. That town called the Voice of Destiny was given because hundreds of years ago, after the conclusion of the war between the demon Diabolos and the victory of the three legendary heroines Oliver, Freya, Lilith in the company of their comrades who inevitably died to achieve a common goal. It was the first time that humanity, all races united in something with a single objective, to defeat that demon that tormented the world and threatened the existence of the entire world. After achieving their goal, the three heroines mysteriously disappeared without a trace. Some say they saw them live their normal lives. Others say they died of senility. Others say they simply died from wounds in battle. There were war zones that were cursed due to the exorbitant amount of magic released after the seal of the demon Diabolos, others that were simply disabled after the destruction that said battle had generated. The three heroines were cursed with the possession of their descendants. Some places lacked mana and it was impossible to use magic properly. In places where a strange phenomenon prevented the possibility of life itself. The village of the Voice of Destiny was one of the war zones affected due to the war of 1,000 years ago. It is said that in this village every 100 years a chosen one is granted the power to grant one wish that comes true. The reason for this is a total mystery. There are rumors that this is due to the amount of magic from the devil himself that had fallen in one of the many war zones, more specifically an area where, along with the others, a large part of destruction existed. A strange phenomenon occurred which gave birth to the possibility of a wish. Some people thought that this was a divine work of some special being. Others said that this was simply a myth and said story was false. The town itself is a pacifist town that hides its information. However, inevitably the information would be revealed sooner or later. Some interested in the cult tried to verify if the theory was true, but when they tried to fulfill their wish, the town itself did not grant anything. Thinking that it was a waste of time, the few cultists who knew about it did not reveal anything. After all, that town was very small, lacked many resources that could be useful to the cult, and the only interesting thing was useless. It is said that 200 years ago a sorcerer made a wish from the city of Oriana, to be able to stay longer in this world. Clinging to the hope of living, that town listened to his pleas and gave him a chance as a ghost that now currently from the shadows can fulfill the objective of protecting what he values most. I guess it's time. As I looked out the station windows, I could see the train slowly starting to slow down. The sky looked cloudy, about to rain. Rain is common around here. It's nothing to complain about, after all. The rain gives me excellent performances like the eminence in the shadows. I've lost track of time. How long has it been since I started my journey of self-discovery? In my old life, this would have been 6 months. But in this world, the notion of time is probably different. It might be longer, maybe less. None of that really matters now. Mentally, I feel something different than reality. But that won't change the fact that when I search for something, I get it, no matter what it is. I slept the necessary hours for my body to recharge its magical energy. The advantage of my body is that I don't exactly need a lot of time to be at 100% again. After all, mana equals energy, and I can use the mana to my advantage to compensate for the hours of sleep. I can endure 3 days without sleep. Although even for me it is exhausting to do so. So I settle for sleeping the necessary hours that my body requires. Lately I have been writing a small notebook about what am I looking for on this journey. It is the question that I have carried with me since I started. What have I discovered? I decided to use a notebook separate from the one I already used where I wrote down my discoveries of eminence in the shadows. At first I thought about finding out why my body and mind were suffering from that emotional/physical imbalance that the girls were talking about. I couldn't notice it until I became aware one night when I barely regained consciousness I was near a large waterfall. When sometimes I tried to remember and memorize, a small pain in my head prevented me from moving forward. I really think something is happening, but I have no notion of what is happening. On this trip at the moment the symptoms have reduced, and I haven't done much to help me discover why. I thought it was some villain NPC who had the powers, but then I ruled it out. After all, I can feel magic even from afar. If I suffered any alteration in my body, whether mental or physical, I could detect it. So the problem is something else. I never thought about going on a journey of self-discovery in my life before. The idea sounded good, but for me it was impossible to do it because of my duties as a mob, and that I had to study and maintain my normal average to avoid standing out, get money and save for my luxurious things of eminence, my training, new plots, my family. If I went on a journey of self-discovery, it would mean that it would imply abandoning everything to search for what I need. I never saw the need to look for something that I would need. After all, I just needed something to be the eminence among the shadows to achieve my goal on my own merits, and I was willing for that goal to use everything that was necessary from around me, even if it was to abandon everything I obtained. The fact that now I have a goal again at the same time I did not have it contemplated. How interesting. I wonder what made me make this decision. I don't know, but I feel like it's the only thing I can do to find something on the path I'm looking for. I just follow it. I wish I didn't have to leave everything so quickly. The last time I came home late, my mother gave me a long lecture and my sister had me tied up in chains without eating. That was very unpleasant, but my previous family didn't care at all if I came back late. If I came back even at night, or just disappeared for a day, they acted normal with me as if nothing had happened. In a way, it was so much freedom that it hurt. I'm starting to miss it. The girls seem to have taken my decision well, although I still think that Alpha may be hiding something. Whenever I receive their visits, I notice something peculiar in our conversation. Strange. The idea that Alpha is angry with me is something that would make me tremble before. But for now I don't care if she likes or dislikes my decision. After all, it's something that only I can do, but I can't help but feel bad if Alpha really had something against me. I would like to explain to the girls about my decision, but they are probably busy. At least their confirmation is a relief. Who would have thought that in the middle of my journey I would find a girl who would end up accompanying me on my trip? The plot twists are very interesting. At first I didn't like the idea of sharing a home with an orphan. It wasn't that I had anything against her personally, but I wasn't in a position to take care of children now. Despite all my attempts to make her leave and abandon me, getting her to hate me, make her run away scared or try to hate me, it was impossible for me, and every day it was more and more unbearable to the point where any attempt was useless. Although I will not deny that his cunning helped me on some occasions, now the only thing I hope is that this city is the answer to what I am looking for. Otherwise I will be forced to return, or everything I have dreamed and built will fall to pieces. What took me so long to form and build the path to advance to it will break. For this time I think I will pray that I no longer have this. Irony, I never thought I would pray for anything. Humans can change in some areas and I never stopped being one. Life is nothing more than a series of choices. You have finally awakened. The little girl with white hair, black lines, and eyes tinged with the crimson red of the red moon, was regaining consciousness after having completely fallen asleep. After all humans need to sleep. Even if we try to look the strongest, we cannot avoid it. It is a rule of nature and a basic law of life. Unfortunately, it does not completely guarantee that you will have a good sleep, guaranteed. Little Hannah managed to sleep like any normal person in her life, however, she suffered from insomnia. This was caused naturally because from her heart she developed a natural fear of sleeping completely. That fear was that if she fell asleep completely, she would kill everyone she found in her path. Since the incident at that orphanage, the massacre she had caused, the blame fell entirely on his being. His being felt guilt. He felt hatred. He felt anger. He felt sadness and disappointment. So many mixed emotions that she slowly began to stop being able to express on her own took her one path. Eternal loneliness. "Be brother? We're almost there. You slept too long, so get ready." "Didn't you hear me? What happened?" "I told you, you fell asleep." "Hey! Do I have to repeat it? That was a joke of yours, right?" "No, why would I make a joke? Look at the window, it's dawn, we left at night, you slept all night. If it's a joke, please stop." "It is not." "Enough, I know I could never sleep through the night. I have a strict sleep schedule. I usually only sleep 3 or 4 hours at most, and in breaks. If I were to fall asleep all night, I wouldn't be able to make the breaks." "What are you talking about? Did you sleep a lot and are still asleep, or did you drink something?" "I'm the one who should be asking you that. After all, a joke too early isn't your style." "What's wrong with you? What are you taking about? You're acting strange. I told you slept in, and you're trying to deny it like it's a big deal. Normally, I think you're just trying to annoy me, but you're making it sound like it's not. Don't even think about using that skill. Have you never slept?" "I don't think I mentioned it to you before, but I can't sleep. My body doesn't need it." "Whatever, I don't care if you believe me or not, but get ready, whether you're asleep or not. Your game has already lasted too long, and we're going to get there." Yes, whatever." I started walking out of the room again. I needed a break and to take a closer look at what the city we were going to look like. Hannah acted a little strange this morning, but it doesn't matter, I guess she had a bad night. Although, don't use that ability? What are you talking about? Well, I have matters to attend to. I should prepare my presentation as a mob when I arrive. The weather here is cold. The good thing is that I received Mitsugoshi brand clothes at a discount. The clothes seem very comfortable and flexible, and in a way, they remind me a little of my old life. I held my arm firmly. I felt a tremor run through my body in general. Why? He said it as a joke, right? I couldn't have slept a night. I couldn't have managed to sleep a night. Before that for me was a dream. But now I made sure he didn't sleep a night. If necessary, I would take some pills to avoid doing it. After all, I don't want to sleep, and yet I have to do it eventually a little. The habit of not being able to sleep completely had appeared in me. Even though in that place I could do it, I don't want to. I don't want to sleep. I don't want to. If I sleep, everyone. But my body feels a strange sensation of headache. My body shakes more than it normally does after little sleep. My eyes don't hurt like they're burning. My vision is a little better. My energy is a little no. I couldn't have slept. I couldn't have done that. I shouldn't think about it so much. I would never let my guard down even with him. I got out of bed and started walking towards the piece of furniture that contained my clothes. I started looking through my clothes for something to wear other than the new clothes that I was getting used to wearing that my brother gave me on some occasions. Among so many clothes, one caught my attention. I took it and picked it up. It was the clothes I wore since I was in that place, the last gift from her. These clothes were somehow special to me, and now they're torn. The clothes my mother gave me. I don't know how to sew. I haven't been able to learn from it. Will it probably take time and I'll stop wearing it? I don't want to stop using it. I feel like when I use it, it's here. I don't have my cube anymore. My cube, that was another memory. Only my bear remains. Everything is new, but I can't feel the sense of calm that I felt when I had them with me. This can't replace it. And now I've also lost the last memory that you gave me. I tore the clothes that you worked so hard to make for me. But I'm going to grow up, and eventually I'll have to get rid of these clothes. Even if I don't, I can have a piece of clothing with me in my hands, much less torn. I really won't have any memory of you after this. I left my garment and continued looking for another one. I looked at another one. This garment was very similar to the one my mother had given me. It had some differences, but it was very similar. This garment was given to me by my brother. I have no idea where he got this. After all, my original garment was made by my mother, and there was no other that was so similar. Even if it was a coincidence, it is almost the same. It is too similar. As the sun slowly illuminated the new morning that was being born, the light hit some crystals which reflected that natural light on the ground. In Alexandria, in the secret base of Shadow Garden, some numbers were training as usual, led by their leader Lambda. Others were resting during their shifts while others were training. The area was completely full of training everywhere and clashes of swords and magic. The base had so much resistance that it could withstand the intense training of all the members. The mist which helped protect and safeguard the Alexandria base from any danger. At the base from the top, a girl with long blonde hair and a dark-colored dress with light golden touches of the finest carved gold from her own company. Pointy ears, was sorting some documents in her chair where she naturally led everyone in a special room. I know this isn't our business, but it's inevitable that we can't do it. Alpha was looking at some documents while remembering some old things from her mind. She remembered the person who had given a purpose to her life and the person who saved her from falling into a destiny without purpose. The person who embodied the shadow itself in the world. That person whom her heart and soul had sworn to serve was now in a dilemma. That person was suffering. She knew it better than anyone. But she couldn't do anything. She didn't want to upset her lord. He himself had been clear with her about his feelings. I'll take care of this personally, Alpha. You're sure? On this journey of self-discovery, the only thing I can do is find what I'm looking for on my own. Maybe I need some time in the outside world. I have no objection or problem with your decision, Shadow, but with all due respect, don't you think that if you disappear like that out of nowhere, part of the life you built naturally will become complicated? Even if that were to happen, my goal is the same, my family, my friends, nothing matters. My only goal is to be the eminence in the shadows, to do what I always do. I have no reason to retract what I said. The blonde-haired elf could only look at Shadow and sigh as her lips trembled a little. She did not want to say goodbye to Shadow permanently, but she could not allow herself to interfere in her lord's private life. After all, if it is something he wanted, she would have to obey him. Even though Alpha and Shadow had a little more confidence in each other, and could talk to each other on several occasions, and Alpha could convince him of changes. In this case, this was an inevitable change, and Shadow made his decision completely. The only thing Alpha could do was support him in his decision. Although she insisted not to do it, he was going to do it after all. Shadow was like that. The only thing Alpha could do was set some conditions which even she doubted Shadow would follow, since Shadow was also someone complicated when it came to that. If that's what you think, then fine. Our duty is to follow you and always serve and fulfill our mission of lurking in the shadows. I just want you to keep in mind that even though we may not matter on the board, despite everything you believe, we care about you and we will always wait for you. I will not be selfish and say that we are the only ones that matter. Your family also waits for you. As someone who does not have a family and therefore I have no way of telling you anything related to it, they seem like good people. Take into account the feelings of the people who you know care about you. For a few moments the crimson-eyed boy remained silent at Alpha's words. He really didn't expect her to say all those words to him. It wasn't typical of her after all. He thought the girl would give him a sermon, or even oppose him leaving. He knew it. But for some strange reason Alpha, instead of stopping him, supported him in his decision. This was probably due in part to what Cid was going through, and that she had to put aside what she wanted for Cid, and let him do what he thinks is right. After all, the one with the most wisdom is him in the end. But what she could do was remind him of something that Cid will never forget. That he was never going to be alone on this path. It's probably something that Cid will forget. Or even never take into account after a while. But she wanted to say it anyway. After all, they were words from her heart. She wasn't going to see her leader for a long time, and the occasions where they saw each other were going to be very rare. After all, the Seven Shadows shift was something she hadn't yet contemplated at this point. She thought she simply wasn't going to see him anymore. Interesting, you gave a good speech. You're improving as a leader. Not at all. I still have a long way to go to improve to the point of exceeding your expectations. You think so, huh? I see it differently. Do you see it differently? Actually, you were always a leader with potential. Perhaps the only thing I would correct about you is that sometimes you think too much about your goals without taking into account those of others. Sometimes you resign yourself when something is not possible to do, or you look for an alternative in desperation. Calm is the best way to do it. Take everything into account, think calmly, don't do everything alone. If I compare your words with the alpha from a while ago, I would say that you have changed. Who do you think I learned this attitude from? You're right, I have no right to complain to you, it was just a suggestion. I'll take it into account, why do you say that after all? And besides, if I can improve, I won't waste the opportunity. I have a question for you. What is it about? The time you'll be outside, you know well, and it probably sounds repetitive that I mentioned this to you, but your private life will be ruined. If it's okay with you, will you let me take care of that? What are you talking about? Do you mean you'll keep my belongings once I leave Midgar or something? I'll take care of your personal identity, but I don't promise this will turn out well. Oh, is that what he meant? Thank goodness. For a moment I thought, wait, what did he say? The time you are away from Midgar, your private identity will be in danger, your family, your studies. I will try to make sure that it is not ruined, but I can't promise that this will turn out well. I will not ask you to return soon, but if you take too long to return, everything will probably be ruined. Don't get your hopes up. The only thing I will do is try to prolong this, and hopefully everything will turn out well. If not, you will have it planned anyway. But if this turns out well and lightens your load. Okay, I didn't plan on you doing this, but if that's what you want, I'll do it, even though it won't be a burden. Not at all, I appreciate you giving me your permission. Well, then I must go now, I'm leaving tomorrow. I took my Midgar school sweater, which I had taken off because of the heat, for the last time, and carried it with me over my shoulder. I began to walk away from the room where Alpha was at the base of our organization. Sometimes I am still impressed by the quality of the base. With each day there seem to be more details and more improvements. In a certain way I envy that the girls get all these expensive items and all this great design in such a short time. But even if I taught them, am I wrong? Well, certainly I am responsible. I continued my walk. I was thinking about some things. The talk I had with Alpha was completely necessary. After all, I didn't even know how long it would take me to return to Midgar and do my activities as an eminence and mob here. There was even the probability that I wouldn't return and I could find another place where I can do my activities. That was not ruled out. There is no place where I can't adapt after all, but if I was going to make a decision, I thought about telling Alpha beforehand. At first I thought this was going to go wrong, and it was best to leave without giving too many details, but I think the girls deserve to know a little about why I'm leaving. Even if I were only Alpha, the others would probably start a dilemma while I'm gone. I still remember that horrible dilemma they gave me when Delta mentioned the waterfall. I was observed for a whole week. I couldn't even shower properly because they were spying on me, and the worst thing is that they weren't even aware that I knew. But with this I feel calmer. I guess now I should think about the future and not get stuck in the past. Before you go. I stopped my walk for a few moments when I heard Alpha's voice, which had sounded just as I took the doorknob. She was calling me for the last time. Make sure you don't die. Coo. Wait, why are you saying that? Is this one last joke? As always, you ruin the good times, but I'm going to tell you clearly. If you die, I won't even forgive you. Well, I don't need your forgiveness, but I'm not going to die anyway, you can be sure of that. I continued my walk and opened the door and left Alpha's room. The tense atmosphere that was between us was now gone. That Alpha joke, heavens, I didn't think she was anyone. Could it be some influence of one of the other girls? They're getting along better, aren't they? Anyway, I think she needed it. A joke at this moment never hurts. I left the room. At the moment of leaving, a familiar figure was nearby. An elf with short silver hair and a small braid in her hair. She had some tears which were falling from her eyes, and with the characteristic dark shadow garden outfit that she always wore. It was Beta. Did she hear the conversation? Beta? As Shadow-sama? Oh, I'm not sorry. It's okay, don't worry. Is it true that you're leaving Shadow-sama? Yes, I've already decided. I understand. For how long? I don't know the exact notion of how long it will take me. I see. This was because Beta misbehaved, right? No, it wasn't that. I understand that's the problem you're dealing with, right? That's how it is. I don't want you to go, Shadow-sama. Without you I wouldn't. It's a necessary, Beta. It's a mission for myself after all. But everything will be okay. I feel like I could have done more if I could help you with your problem. If I could accompany you then. The girls need you, Beta. I know. Anyway, this is a problem that even I find difficult. It's a mission exclusively for me. You can't do anything about it, but it's not your fault. If only I approached Beta and stroked her head. Take care of the other Betas. Shadow-sama. Beta began to cry on Shadow's chest, who only remained relaxed, waiting for Beta to calm down. After all, Shadow could understand that although he was not going to feel anything, there would be people who would feel his loss for this indefinite period of time. Alpha had recently reminded him. It would be selfish not to reciprocate the feelings of someone you don't know if you'll see again. He knew that better than anyone. Continue your stories, show them what you're made of. Why, yes. And try not to plagiarize me. Plagiarize you? Also get along a little better with Epsilon. Either of the two is better than the other. I'll try. Aren't we there yet? Suddenly the train began to slow down. The exit lights had turned on. As the train was stopping, you could see from the outside the entrance of that mysterious town, which was full of only humans. There were some different races like Petherianthropes, but almost the entire town was inhabited by only people. The houses gave a slightly nostalgic touch. Some were similar to cabins from old Japan. The mountains were visible. The entrance mentioned strictly no weapons in that town. According to the rules, the inhabitants were peaceful and preferred that the new inhabitants did not have hostile intentions. The town in any case was small. Someone of great power could invade it without much problem, but this town in a way was like many others, useless for the cult of devils. Some files and documents were transported from this site because it was an easy place to sneak, but nothing more. Everyone on this train is kindly asked to exit in an orderly manner. Those searching for the people, the voice of destiny, as their destination, may disembark. Otherwise, please remain in your seats. I took some of my personal things that I had equipped in my suitcase created from slime and began to move forward, pulling it with my arm. It had small wheels and moved forward easily. I noticed that the town of the voice of destiny, Lucia, was a little peculiar, although I think that lately I am surprised more and more by new things in this world. Hannah didn't stay behind and followed Cid as they both advanced to the exit. Hannah noticed that no one else on the train had gotten off. They were the only ones heading to this destination. Probably the others didn't even know about this place, or simply because it was a place of little interest to the typical rich people. It didn't attract their attention, a small and uninteresting place to the eye. That was her possible deduction. For the little girl, this was going to be her first trip in life in which she changed from one place to another, which in a certain way felt a little strange since she left that place. Anyway, she continued on her way. I hadn't taken a ride from the lawless city now that I think about it, but it doesn't matter, I'm used to taking them. What is this place? Probably what I'm looking for. Wait, are you really going to believe what that weirdo told you? Let's continue. You really have a serious trust problem in believing everyone's first word. Hannah and Cid began to walk through the town. As they moved forward, they noticed that some stores exchanged objects for other objects or food itself. This form of exchange was regularly used in old years in Japan when the currency was scarce or directly did not exist in the world. Other places did exchange some coins for objects/food. There were some pink trees. In a certain way, Cid remembered this as the cherry trees of Japan which bloomed in the spring. But this time the time was autumn, at least where they were, in a certain way. As they advanced, Cid noticed that Hannah had stayed behind. He looked at her, somewhat curious about her action, and decided to ask himself, "Why don't you move forward? Are you listening? What is this? They're just cherry blossoms. A tree with pink flowers? That's right, they normally grow in some specific areas during the spring season, but in this situation, they appear to be growing in the fall season. Do you want to see more details? Hannah nodded. Cid approached one of the cherry trees while Hannah followed him. She stood for a few moments looking at those flowers. Somehow the flowers brought her a bit of tranquility. Normally the world was gray, but when you appreciate the colorful things in this world, like nature, even in someone who has lost the color of the world, it is something somehow beautiful to be able to contemplate. She remembered that her mother in the orphanage used to often collect some flowers from outside or simply buy them. "Mother, I'm finally back!" A little girl with crimson eyes and white hair wearing a little dress. Her appearance was that of a 5-year-old girl. She ran through a small garden to meet a special loved one, the person she loved most in the world. Her mother. She was holding some flowers which she was collecting in a special kind of cloth to save them, and organize them all for a bouquet. "I'm glad to see you, Hannah. Tell me, how was it? Did you have fun with your friends?" "They're a little silly, but we always have fun painting today." The little girl noticed with curiosity what her mother was doing. "Mother, what are you doing?" "I'm collecting flowers for the orphanage merchandise. I'm also taking some for the room and replacing them when they wilt, so everyone has one in their rooms." "But Mom, that's too much work. Are you sure you can do it?" "I'm fine, Hannah, don't worry. I really like picking flowers anyway." "I've always been curious, Mother, why do you like flowers?" "Well, why do you think I like Hannah?" "Because they are beautiful and smell great." Yes, you have a point, Hannah, but there's also another reason why I like flowers and petals." "A reason?" "Flowers taught me to appreciate life as it is, with its changes and fragility. They are beautiful because, even though they know their time is short, they bloom with all their strength. They remind me that every moment of love and joy is a gift given with all your heart, no matter what comes next." "Do they bloom strongly?" "When a bad moment occurs, flowers help you remember that you can always get back up, that a world tinged with gray can be a world of color if you learn to appreciate what's around you for a few moments, and just take a break." "I don't understand, Mother." The little girl's mother held her head as she gave her adopted daughter a warm smile. "You'll understand when you grow up." But I'd like to understand it now. I used to think like you when I was your age, you know? But now that I've grown up, I've realized some things, and I'd really rather be like you. For now, just enjoy being your daughter." "Okay, Mom. But let me help you with the flowers." "Huh? No need for that, Hannah. Of course, you taught me that when someone is in trouble or needs help, you should reach out, right? We should all help each other, and I want to help you. If I can help even a little lessen your burden, I'll be very happy." Hannah began to help her mother pick the flowers, who smiled when she saw her action. "Hannah, when the time comes you're probably going to suffer a lot. You'll even probably come to hate me when you find out what this orphanage needs to sustain itself. Even if you come to hate me for the rest of your life, my daughter, I will pray that you have a good life and that organization doesn't lay their hands on you. I hope that when you grow up you can have a life where you are away from what is necessary for survival in this world, and you succeed." Looking at those flowers in detail, the little girl had remembered something she had forgotten before. Despite all this, she sighed. "I wish I never understood what you meant to tell me, Mother. I wish I never understood what I set out to understand. When you realize the color of this world, it's pity, it's so much pity, and there's no going back. I can't go back even if I wanted to. I wish I could be more aware when I was with you. I wish I could stay with that mindset forever and not overthink everything, not accept everything. I wish that, Mother, I wish you would take this thought away from me." "What would you tell me?" "There's so many things I want to ask you that I've discovered. But probably not even if you answer them I'll be satisfied. I'll just accept it. The me before is lost forever. We can go now, that's all I wanted to know." "All right." Hannah and Cid began to walk away from the cherry trees which the wind blew as they moved with nature itself. "I have a question, brother." "Before, where we met, the exchange was gold for something you wanted, right? Why is it different now, and are you offering clothes or objects?" "It's a bit complicated to explain." "Don't worry, do it. In this world, people and where they live are divided into countries, cities, towns, and small towns. As you can imagine, countries are where there are the greatest profits, and small towns are where there are the least." "I understand, but can you explain a little more about the profits?" "Profits are what a country, city, or town obtains It is basically money. In countries it abounds, in cities too, but not as much. In towns it is scarce but barely abounds. There are even towns which I call small towns that do not have coins, and their profit system is through clothes/objects, so that these are sold in other places where in exchange for these clothes or materials that the cities/countries use they give them a little money so that they can maintain their economy, or basically their structure, and not fall apart. When you put it that way, and I remember your obsession with gold, it's weird. That's why gold is worth everything. I'll explain it to you. In money there are also levels. There are already two at the moment. Silver coins and banknotes. Banknotes can hold 20 coins in a single bill, which saves what you carry and makes it easier to transport. Gold is a higher grade than those two. They are coins made of a strange material that have too much value. If you have many or want them, your future is assured. Is that why you're so obsessed? But if you already have food and necessities with silver coins and bills, why more? I don't know about others, but in my case, I buy expensive artifacts for my personal use. I only do it for fun, not out of necessity. I like it. There are people who waste money buying anything or just want to improve their quality of life by building huge constructions or hiring people who would do everything for them for money. I think I'm getting it. So the money in this world, it's worth it all. Without money you are nothing, but also keep in mind something very important. Without power you are nobody either. Without power? But you said that with money you already have a lot of things. Technically it's like having power, right? Ah, that's right, but that only applies in a place that only I know, where magic doesn't exist, and therefore people who threaten those with greater resources. But in these places where it abounds, it's enough for you to be stronger than the security that I hired. All the money of the person you seek to kill or steal their resources. To have it all, but if you had power and resources you would have something that those who only have power wouldn't have, and vice versa. Balance is important, girl. Deciding a person's fate with a coin or with power alone sounds like good people will get unfair treatment, while bad people win everything. Naturally there is a balance. There are evil people as well as good people with money, bad people with money. But it would be useless to lie to you, the number of bad people is greater than the good people. But why? I don't understand. If they already had everything, why more? Why more? Why people are not going to stay stagnant? There are people who do, but the majority of people do not think the same. I had told you before, it is useless for you to think that someone will act according to what another. New people are always born with another brain and they think differently. Do not rack your head and kill yourself thinking about why. There is always a why. I gave you one, and there are more why in different contexts and situations. Nothing about the system matters if it is corrupt or not, only you matter, and that you remain firm to achieve what you set out to do, gain power, get what you need to survive economically, and your life is guaranteed. If something threatens you, defend yourself. If you can't, you are inferior. Train until you can achieve it. You are lucky that before that option of training until you achieve did not exist where I come from. If someone surpassed you in economy or power you die. But here destiny can be changed. There is always a change. Take advantage of it. Let's continue. You're still too young to know about these things, even if you process everything. Your mentality isn't used to it. It's better to focus on yourself and then on the rest. That will help you achieve what you're looking for when you grow a little more. You're strong. You're right. Hannah and Cid continued their way, leaving the subject aside. Now Hannah focused more on observing her surroundings and sometimes asked Cid about new cultures that she did not know, but without so much preamble Cid explained something and she understood and processed. It was all she needed to do, not think about it too much. How will that help me in my future? How will it help others? If something is like that, it is because it is like that. Do not think about it too much, and do it and take it into account for the future. There is always the future. For a town, it has some interesting things. This world moves very fast. Although I think it has quite a few interesting things, I've never seen this before. Well, I travel a lot, maybe that has something to do with it. I think the girls showed me so many festivals and I went to so many places that few things are surprising me with the passage of time if it's not with them, I admit. Hey bro, I've noticed you've been talking about this world too much lately. What exactly do you mean by that? It's a term I use, don't beat around the bush, I just like to say it that way. I understand. You mentioned earlier that you came from a place where magic didn't exist. Can you explain what it was like? Nowadays, that place no longer exists. It has magic like everyone else's. But before magic came to that place, it wasn't interesting at all. My life didn't have any surprising changes. But in that case, you should be older, right? You say you trained since you were little. If it was there, then. Let's continue. Wait, don't interrupt me again. Tisk, when he ignores me on certain topics, it's really annoying. I guess he just doesn't feel like talking to me about some things, right? Well, I guess I should understand, but there are better ways to ask not to inquire into a topic. Some places that Cid and Hannah started to explore had certain strange customs. Some fast food stands had strangely shaped foods that were reminiscent of old Japan. Others had people gathering and celebrating for something natural. What's that? Oh, it's soba. I didn't think there would be soba in this place. Probably the influence of cities and countries has a little to do with some small things. Soba? It's a wheat soup usually eaten with chopsticks. Do you want to try? Why, yes, a little. Okay, then let's go. I headed towards that soba stand and sat down on one of the benches. Hannah at first tried to get on one, but it was a little high, and it was hard for her to get on, but she managed to get on the second time without problems. Her hair had grown back again now that I realize. Now it not only reached a little more than her shoulders but also part of her back, and the braids she had were no longer done. In a way it reminds me of the day I had met her. She started learning how to braid her hair when she watched television, but even she sometimes felt lazy to put them back together. We waited a bit, and they served us the soba, which was hot. I put my hands together and said my prayers. Noticing what her brother did, the little girl imitated him and performed the same position of joining her hands while closing her eyes. Thanks for the food. Thanks for the food. Both of them took their chopsticks and took a small sip of soup. As they did so, Hannah's lips felt the soba pass by. When she finally finished tasting the soup, she suddenly felt more like trying that soup. I guess a meal in the morning isn't bad at all, huh? I've never tasted a soup like this before. It's so thin that it goes down my throat easily. Its flavor is so good. While Hannah was eating, Cid looked at her for a few moments and noticed that she had already finished her plate very quickly. She wasn't even halfway through when Hannah's plate was already empty. It was delicious. Thank you very much, brother. It was just a little bit of soba. It's not that big a deal. Still, I really appreciate it for inviting me to lunch. Take it as your debt is paid. You gave me gold, so... Stop being so picky and accept a thank you. It's okay, it's okay. I finished eating, and when the chef approached me, he charged me the bill. 3 silver coins, please. This is actually cheap, but in this place 3 silver coins would be a lot. They probably charge coins directly, as I assumed the places where you find food and special items. I handed over the 3 silver coins and got off the bench, stretching my arms a little. Bro, are there any more cool things like this? Wait, why are you looking at me like that? Is there more I don't know about? More things? Calm down, we're going to get there in no time, and don't forget the reason we came to this place. That's true. But hey, I guess a little exploration beforehand doesn't hurt. Both continued their way, exploring more shops. Some gave objects in exchange for you to throw the stone and hit it. You were given a completely random object. This game is very simple. Wait, let me try, my brother, please. Are you sure? Have you played this before? No, but I want to try it. It looks fun. Okay, do it. Hannah took a bow which contained a wooden arrow. The game consisted of trying to hit with the arrow from a far distance to one of the marked walls. Depending on which of the marks you throw, you will be given a prize. However, the marks were small and very difficult to give. Naturally, in the Midgar festival, a rifle was used and a dice was used for shooting. But in this town they did not have enough resources and decided to make a copy of the original in a certain way. Even the prizes were not that good, but the satisfaction of winning was the best that could be given. Hannah aimed with the bow from a distance. Cid watched her with his arms crossed, while some spectators looked incredulously as a girl was going to try to shoot a prize with a bow. Objectively, it looked impossible, but curiosity invaded. Hannah focused her attack and launched it. At the moment of launching it, the arrow fell but failed to hit the target. 2 attempts out of 3. Hannah, concentrate your magic on your eyes, that way you will expand your vision. I don't need your advice, brother. If you don't do it, you won't be able to shoot anything. From that distance, you won't see anything at all. I appreciate your help, but I want to try to earn something on my own without your help. Since when did your ego grow? Well, I guess it grows, but I'm not against it. People who prefer to grow on their own and make an effort are worthy of admiration. That's how I was from the beginning. 1, 2, 3. Hannah shot again with the help of her bow, but again she had missed without any success. The arrow remained close to where the prize was. I can't fail the last one, otherwise my chance will be gone. But this try was all I needed. If I can measure the trajectory, I think I can get an idea. My brother says magic can help me, but I think I'd like to try something different than using that cheating trick all the time. The sounds and vibrations around you, including listening to the noise the prize makes as it swings or any nearby echoes. By measuring the wind by touch or the feel of the breeze on your skin, you could adjust the arrow's direction. He takes a deep breath, focuses his energy on a single shot, and releases the arrow, trusting his intuition. The arrow hits the target, proving that even though you can't see it, skill and intuition can overcome the lack of visibility. The people in the surrounding area had been impressed by the little girl's feat as she had managed to hit her target. Hannah sighed as she walked back towards the mini store for her prize. This is... Hey, my prize! Why, yes, right away! The owner of the game checked where the arrow had fallen. It was number 87. The number gave as a prize a bracelet made from flowers. The bracelet was gray on the left half and black on the right half. In tradition, this meant gray for neutrality and facing something that is happening with difficulties. Black meant power but mystery. In some cultures it meant that it kept away negative energies. And in others it meant emotional depth and the pain of the heart. Hannah took the bracelet and put it on. Looking at it, she felt good internally for a few moments. She had achieved something by herself without help. These small achievements were what gave meaning to existence itself. The day began to pass and Cid and Hannah explored much of the town which they had as their objective from the beginning. They learned many customs and some typical translations. Cid came to the conclusion that if Hannah had been impressed by seeing some customs, probably if she were in Midgard there would be so much to choose from that she would probably go crazy. It seemed that Hannah was enjoying the freedom that she hadn't had for years. Something new was mysterious for her. Being able to discover more things about tradition was something she liked. Hannah's attitude reminded Cid a bit of the Seven Shadows, who sometimes were the same with him when asking for advice or when he had to explain old traditions of Japan, or simply Cid gave new, innovative ideas. I'd probably already had too much fun in this town. Now it was time for the goal I'd been looking for. I had to mention it to Hannah. Although she seemed to have a lot of fun with me, she'd probably never had fun with another person before. In a way, it's a little sad that this trip is over. Even if I told her to do it alone, she'd probably refuse, and if she waits for me, she'd get bored again. It's a shame this trip is over, but I have to do it now. Hannah. Yes, brother? It's late, and the purpose for which I came to this place is clear. I understand. Aren't you going to say anything? Then I must go and check out what this town has intrigued me about, otherwise we'll leave tomorrow. You can stay the night in the room I already reserved or continue exploring this place without me. It's no fun if you're not there. It's the reality, Hannah. You have to learn that the people you want to be by your side to enjoy a moment can't always be with you. When they can, enjoy it. If they can't, temporarily or forever, accept it. You can spend time with yourself and discover interesting things. I understand. I'll be back later and we'll go on our way again. So take care of yourself in the meantime. I want to spend more time with you. I've never felt this fun and curiosity before, these diverse emotions to know the world. Only you help me. Okay. I'll do it. If you need money, it's in the room. Don't spend too much. Don't go, brother. I understand. Cid began to walk away from Hannah, looking for his objective, which is to find the center of the town for the possibility of God's wish. As he walked away, Hannah looked down and resisted calling him. She just accepted it and began to walk away. I began to advance more and more to the center. The further I advanced, sometimes I stopped to ask the people of this place if they knew anything. Some took me for crazy and simply said that such stories did not exist. Others indicated me incorrect paths. At this rate, it was going to take me a little longer than contemplated. I began to walk throughout the town. On my way, I managed to discover some strange paths. These seemed to be blocked by some kind of special seal. For me, it was not a problem to remove them. According to what Zeta told me, the center is a place where practically nobody is. It almost seems like a desert. Is it probably why nobody managed to discover how to enter, or is this same place hidden on purpose? The further I advanced, the path took me more in the direction of one of the great mountains. I continued on my way. I tried to remove one of the seals, but it seems I couldn't do it. Certain conditions were necessary. With my magical force, I broke the seal by force and continued on my way. As I advanced on the path, a strange creature 4 meters tall with a cliché goblin appearance had thrown fire from its mouth at me. With the help of the slime, I avoided the fire. Yeah. Ah, filler villains, how boring! I advanced and hit that goblin with such force that it exploded as soon as I hit it. Did I use too much force? As I advanced, I noticed a small moan. I threw a slime kunai where I heard the moan. Ha! That voice. Hey, are you trying to kill me? Hannah? You, what are you doing in this place? I'll go too. Is this a joke? I'm probably not the person you always wanted to be, a mother anymore. I can't call myself someone who follows in your footsteps anymore. I'm so sorry about that. I clenched my fist. The idea I had in mind before, remembering my past, knowing what happened in my heart, there was a small doubt that maybe I needed something. Something was missing, but I didn't want to see how I did that night. You're not alone anymore, Hannah-chan. Accept reality, accept reality, accept reality. It's like my brother says, reality is reality taken no matter what. If that happened, crying and complaining won't help. Accept it or I'll never live with it. Accept reality. If that means I'll have to break the promise I made to Mother, I can't go on like this anymore. Mother, forgive me for this. I started walking and followed my brother. Probably before I wasn't going to achieve anything. I had nothing to lose. I had no one, but now more than anything in the world I no longer want to feel this burden of doubts that I have felt for so long. I only want to enjoy my life without this sorrow. After all, if my brother will do it, then I will. There's a chance nothing will even happen. I know. You'll probably remember something you don't want to remember. I know. So why did you come? If you do it, I will too. If I live with this regret, it will be of no use. Living in fear all my life, just ignoring it? I'd rather know everything I need to know about what happened that day. Only then will I finally understand this reality. This girl. Well, if that's the case and you think you can stand it, I dare you to do it. Yeah. Chapter 23. 7 beautiful women were gathered in a large room, led by an elf with long blonde hair. All had a wardrobe that was somewhat unusual. They dressed like high school people, each with their own style to their own taste. A feline girl similar to a therianthrope wolf with pointed purple eyes was eating a piece of meat with some stains on her mouth from the blood that spilled the piece. On the other hand, the feline more similar to a cat was standing with her arms crossed with her gaze slightly lowered. An elf girl with a long ponytail tied in one blue hair and glasses was sitting staring at the leader waiting for some news. Another equally elf girl with short albino hair with glasses and the same uniform as her companions was impatient for the news that her leaders were going to tell her while she was sitting and had a notebook with herself. On the other hand, an elf girl with long dark hair with a small mole near her mouth was also sitting waiting for orders. Finally, the last member of this group of 7, led by that girl, the purple-haired elf, was sitting in her own chair, which could be transported with a button. This was due to her laziness in getting up and moving around using this peculiar chair as a means of transportation. She had dark circles under her eyes and was on several occasions with her head down, trying to stay awake, unable to avoid not being able to sleep. Another meeting? Zeta exclaimed with a little disgust in her words. Zeta-san, please do not address Alpha-sama in that way. When she meets us, it is our duty to assist because the situation is serious. Her Ganma partner answered. This is boring, I want to sleep. Ada lowered her head. How delicious! Delta exclaimed, enjoying her piece of meat. Delta-san, have a little more manners, don't eat at meetings. Epsilon spoke with a little discomfort about the situation. I'm hungry. I haven't eaten properly since I came back from Bossu's. Delta continued her bite with a slight pout. Shadow-sama, it's been a while since we last heard from him. The only ones who have been able to see him have been Alpha-sama, Zeta-san, and Delta-san. Beta spoke while lowering her gaze a little sadly because she had not won the previous tournament against Zeta and therefore had to wait longer. Her weakness did not produce any pleasant feelings in her. It's true. Epsilon nodded. Silence, everyone. A voice with some intensity resonated a little around the room. The 7 shadows fell silent upon hearing that voice. It was Alpha who had his back to them. She had turned around again, her tone of voice firm and strong but not exaggerated so that the girls would feel pressure. That was something that a born leader should produce. I regret the fact that we have to be more active lately and I have to call you to meetings very often. It is exhausting and I personally do not like to do it by putting myself in your place. However, the situation lately has me very bewildered and I cannot avoid having to communicate it to all of you urgently. After all, we have all sworn loyalty to Shadow and guarantee his protection as that of his family, and serve him for life and help him defeat the cult of devils, so it is our duty that this promise is kept. Alpha spoke while the others listened. Both Beta and Epsilon, Delta, Gamma only smiled. Don't worry, Alpha-sama. Us. We swore we would do anything for Shadow-sama, so this is nothing. We wouldn't be worthy of even being in the position of the 7 shadows if we failed in something as simple as not helping our master. The boss is the boss after all, sir. Very well, in that case I will tell you the information I have obtained today. Alpha exclaimed and everyone became attentive to his words. We all know the situation Shadow is currently going through, don't we? He mentioned he'd take a trip to determine the cause. Apparently, somehow, the situation is so serious that he can't handle it. At first, we thought he was suffering from something, perhaps something personal or something he was hiding that affected him greatly. However, the whole time we've been observing him, nothing out of the ordinary has happened, and in fact, he's actually continuing with his normal life as always. I continued to firmly believe that idea, but he himself told me that he would go on a trip. It's something that he alone can probably solve. This is something else. Honestly, I have not been able to determine the cause of his behavior in such a strange way, and it frustrates me not to do so, but if even he has it complicated and had to take such a drastic measure at the last minute, there is not much I can discover. The only thing we can do at the moment is try to get information about his status with the Zeta team. I don't like invading Shadow's privacy like that, and there's even the small possibility that he knows we're doing something. But after what we saw, I believe in him, but I need to confirm many things. That's why I need to know everything that's going on with him currently in order to have some clue. I know that he is a person who would not do such a hasty action. His carefree attitude was a sign that he is the same as always, but that strange attitude that Delta describes I have never seen before, and I do not know what it is like. At the moment I had reports from some numbers that he had fainted again when Delta went to visit him in a strange manner, but he did not act like the first time as Delta described it that time when he jumped directly. It was more of a fainting spell, something very unusual. Can't we really find any method that can help him? Beta interrupted, somewhat distressed upon hearing Alpha's words. If we could find a way, I would have done it a long time ago, but we haven't found anything. The only thing we can do for now is trust Shadow and just stay alert, and prevent anything from happening to him in case of an emergency. That's why Zeta's plan. But just watching while he continues to suffer is something very cruel. I don't like the idea. I don't like it. Is there really no other way to do it, Alpha-sama? Epsilon exclaimed, expressing his disagreement as well. I would really like to help Shadow as much as possible like all of you, but we also have the problem of keeping Shadow's identity protected while he is covering his trip. His companions and sister, Alexia, are posing a problem to keep this hidden, and besides we can't continue with this facade any longer while we investigate the cult of devils and at the same time keep him under surveillance. All that work is already too much burden. Finding a solution to a problem that even he finds complicated is not easy. We have to try to first take care of what restricts our time. Why did Shadow-sama leave Midgar? Wouldn't it be easier if he came back and we all found something? Gunma suggested the idea. No, Shadow decided to make the trip outside of Midgar for various reasons, as I mentioned before, and if he decided that way, we can't do anything. We have to obey him. We have to trust him. If we give him more stress, we won't be able to help at all. They all remained silent without questioning Alpha's orders. Beta and Epsilon were somewhat frustrated by the fact that Shadow was left alone in this problem that in their eyes was a very serious matter. However, Alpha's arguments were good and certainly could not be discarded. Zeta only remained silent without saying a word during the entire meeting. Ada did not pay attention due to lack of sleep, and Delta only looked at everything without saying anything while she was confused. The Shadow issue isn't the only worrying one. The problem now is that the report we've been receiving from Victoria and the numero unos is that the devil cult hasn't mobilized or taken any significant action. What? Why would the cult do that? Ganma asked. Could it be that they're planning something again? Beta expressed. Whether or not they are planning something, we don't know what they are up to. Also, according to Victoria's information, they found reports of small towns and villages outside of Midgar that had conflicts. The city of Begar, the ruins of Midgar, was recently discovered to have suffered a declaration by an unknown enemy. Isn't Begar City where Shadow-sama is located? Ganma asked, intrigued. That's how it is. Damn, I had my own questions and doubts about whether the theory I had all this time was right. Zeta bit her nails a little with some concern at such an action. Alpha looked at her out of the corner of her eye. Unknowns? It's no big deal. Zeta decided not to say anything about what she had discovered to Alpha, who noticed this and stared at her. However, Beta interrupted the moment of silence. If the cult is attacking the locations where Shadow-sama happens to be, doesn't that sound like too much of a coincidence? What do you mean? Epsilon looked at Beta with doubt. I don't think they know his identity. That's impossible. But I'm worried about the fact that there have already been several reported attacks, and it just so happens to be where he is. I think that case can be answered with the girl at his side, Alpha replied. Girl? Beta looked at Alpha in amazement. It's a topic I wanted to talk to you all about. Apparently Shadow is currently taking care of a little girl who is with him. Hey! All the shadows except Zeta and Eta were completely altered upon hearing the words coming from Alpha. Immediately they all began to imagine who the woman responsible was and over thousands of possibilities. Apparently she is an orphan and she is hiding something that has Shadow intrigued, so he took it upon himself to personally investigate her. That is what I have discovered in the Zeta reports, but I still do not know entirely why he does it or for what purpose. When I spoke to him personally, he refused to tell me more than necessary, but I can understand that she is special, and with the recent reports of constant attacks on places near where he is located and the Delta report, the cult of devils has her in their sights and is looking for her, but I do not know why. But if the cult is looking for her, and Shadow has her in his sights with him, it is something very important without a doubt. Thank goodness. Both Beta and the other shadows gave a great sigh upon learning that the girl their master was apparently looking after was only doing so for the purpose of planning, as their lord always did with his wisdom, although they were still curious and a little jealous of why such a task was given. So Shadow-sama has his own plans as always? Ganma asked. I guess so. For the moment we have to be very cautious with everything that's happening. For some strange reason now the cult is acting a little strange, and with Shadow in this condition it's certainly very dangerous. All the shadows nodded at the words that Alpha had mentioned, firmly believing what she had mentioned. Now Delta and Zeta will tell us information about the strange girl that Shadow is taking care of. Alpha looked directly at Zeta and Delta. Delta choked slightly on her food when she felt Alpha's gaze and hit her chest to properly digest the food she had been eating. Zeta, on the other hand, opened her eyes ready to give her report. Delta, I gave you permission to eat at the meeting as a reward for the news you had to give us. But if you continue eating like that without care, and if by any chance you stain the floor again, I'm going to take away that right. I told you to eat carefully. Alpha frowned slightly, causing Delta to immediately affirm her question. Delta was more careful from now on. Yes. Alpha-sama. I'll start my report. Zeta spoke while the other shadows paid attention to him. I began an investigation under orders from Alpha-sama. The mission was to send my detection team to watch the master and notify him of anything critical or important that happened. Of course, our investigation team has the ability to make their presence disappear, this in order to prevent the master from feeling observed or inconvenienced. Even if he detected the presence of the detection team, it would only be the presence of normal people. Our intention is for him to be as comfortable as possible and not worry about anything other than his own goals and objectives and leave everything to us. It's still harassment, Ganma muttered a little. So far, my team hasn't detected anything unusual. The teacher is fine, and the entire journey has been normal. In fact, we've noticed him occasionally doing missions and writing a bit in his free time. I'm so glad, Beta sighed. Since the first month that he had left, he attacked a base without apparent explanation. But after an investigation by our team, we detected that research base belonged to the cult of devils was located on the outskirts of the hidden city of Beggar. The teacher had to destroy it because perhaps it got in the way of his plans. Everything was correct. However, I noticed something strange. A girl, apparently someone product of the experiments of that research base, deducing her clothes, her physical state, and her condition. Unfortunately, I deduced at first that it was some possessed or was simply someone with bad luck, as happened to us before. But my vision changed when I noticed that the teacher had accepted her quickly. Both began to live together. Why would the teacher live with an unknown orphan girl affected by that base? Although the teacher has a good heart, I think he should know that this could interrupt his plans. Even if he wanted to give her a home, he could turn to us or leave her in one of the many orphanages. That certainly is strange and quite subtle information. We know he's planning something, but what is he up to specifically? Alpha held her chin for a few moments. Shadow-sama's heart is so noble. She was a child that he could have left for anyone else, but he chose to take care of her for a while because he knew that the cult of devils would come for her again sooner or later. Beta gave an expression of happiness, since it seemed that his master continued to retain his kindness greater than ever before. Time passed and I continued my investigation into the teacher. I noticed that he formed a kind of bond with that mysterious girl. It's probably part of his plan to act that way like he used to in Midgar when he was at school or wasn't in identity. When the teacher usually acts that way, it always means something. Although sometimes the teacher acted a little strange, but I guess that's how he is after all. As long as I continued as a spy, it was the same. You visited him and not many unusual things happened. Sometimes that girl came out. I took the task of dividing my team and investigating her, but we did not find many interesting things that could be useful. That was until apparently a strange subject appeared and tried to take her away. His presence, his mana, was undoubtedly someone from the cult of devils was strong, probably a round table or a first cult. A round table, you say? Epsilon asked, a little puzzled upon hearing the words Zeta was mentioning. Why would a round table get involved with a child? It's true, the previous base was probably from the devil cult and maybe members in some first rounds were leading, but if even a round table took the trouble to go personally, it means that. Ganma was thoughtful about everything while she tried to mention and process what she was hearing. It's something very important, Epsilon mentioned seriously as he received a settlement from his beta partner. That girl is probably much more important than we think. If even a first round or a possible round table is involved, they are up to something. That's why it was so strange that the cult of devils didn't have any relevant news during this time, and above all, the only news coincidentally was after Shadow left on his trip. Alpha mentioned all this while the other shadows listened attentively. Alpha-sama, doesn't that mean that the devil cult will go after Shadow-sama because now he has what they are looking for? Ganma mentioned this with an expression that reflected discomfort and seriousness. If that turns out to be true, Shadow's identity could be at risk. He can't be constantly under attack and then the cultists just happen to disappear. I even have the feeling that the casualties are a bit higher. Something is wrong with all this. Alpha gave a long sigh. Continue your Zeta report. Finish telling us everything you have to say. Roger, Zeta nodded. Apparently that guy's plan was to take the girl with him. She tried desperately to fight, but it was useless for obvious reasons. When he was apparently going to take her, something very strange happened. Both the girl and the cultist had completely disappeared. At first I deduced that perhaps it was some technique that the cultist performed and that he had achieved his goal, but the problem is that I could not detect or feel where they had marked themselves. I tried to follow the trail, but it was useless. I found nothing, but suddenly I felt an energy that I cannot describe. It was certainly an immense power. It was so much so that even my senses began to fail for a few moments. And just as our team was about to leave from afar, they both appeared again, but the cultist looked different. He was lying on the ground, covered in cold sweat and with a different expression. He held some limbs like his arm and leg and mentioned that he would return. I had the intuition that he was hurt, but it was nothing significant. He just retreated and disappeared without more, and that girl was on the ground. I only know someone who uses a teleportation technique. Beta and Epsilon stared at each other. This is the cultist who broke into Rose Oriana's wedding and used that strange being called Ragnarok. Beta and I confronted him and managed to corner him until he summoned a strange creature. Shadow-sama appeared, and as expected he defeated it in a short time. Then Beta and I took it upon ourselves to stop him, but upon seeing that his creation failed he apparently merged with that creature, but Shadow-sama thwarted his plans. He already had him under control then. For no apparent reason he had disappeared completely. He managed to escape. I see, so it's about the round table that was planning to conquer Oriana that we stopped a long time ago, isn't it? Gunma asked again, and Beta and Epsilon nodded. His name is Mordred. I mentioned Epsilon. How strange, that guy apparently didn't die, and now even after his defeat he was planning to take a girl, and right now? Beta wondered with some doubts in his head. From the report Zeta mentioned, apparently he failed in his mission and was forced to flee, but this has undoubtedly confirmed part of the plan the cult is planning, and it has to do with that girl. Alpha mentioned this and everyone nodded. Afterwards not much happened. They continued their journey until they crossed the city of Beggar completely and stayed in a room. However, apparently the Church of Beggar allies of the cult had to do with it. That girl tried to help but was broken into. She began to flee but could not escape. When she was cornered I thought that apparently they would attack her, but as soon as I opened my eyes again everyone was dead and a large pool of blood surrounded her. She had fallen unconscious for no apparent reason. The teacher noticeably detected everyone's presence and hunted them down with a new identity of his. But when he returned again and met that girl, something attacked him and a new fight ensued, but the teacher won without major problems, although the girl fell into the void due to the collapse of the building and the teacher saved her in the air. Although something strange happened, he acted in an unusual way and fell to the ground all night. I wanted to intervene, but if I left he would discover the plan and I could only stay watching. Apparently the rumors about the various churches which seem to be allied with the enemy are true. I wouldn't even be surprised if there are more organizations allied to the cult. Alpha confirmed some of his hypotheses. Everyone was dead? Was it Shadow-sama or was it someone else? Some shadows were incredulous when they heard that as soon as Zeta opened his eyes everyone was already dead. It was certainly illogical. It was what I saw. It seems that the same thing that happened attacked Shadow-sama, but as expected he had no difficulties. But did he really fall from the sky for no apparent reason? Epsilon was surprised by the information. That's how it happened, Zeta stated. Why did you leave him lying there? You should have helped him. Beta was annoyed by Zeta's attitude of not helping Shadow when he was in a critical situation, especially because everything that had happened previously. I couldn't. The mission would fail if I intervened. I also made sure to watch for any strange movements, but nothing happened, and Shadow-sama's mana and vital signs were better than ever. Still, what if something happened? The mission matters more than Shadow-sama's life? Beta was further annoyed by Zeta's curt response. The master wouldn't die for something so simple. Besides, do you think I would have stood by and done nothing if I had noticed something unusual happening to him? I have more experience than you, and I knew perfectly well whether to get involved or not, and if I needed to, I would. That's why I was selected for this mission. Enough, both of you. Arguing won't get you anywhere at all. Continue your report, Zeta. Alpha calmed both of them, although Beta was still upset by Zeta's attitude. Even Delta and Epsilon supported her attitude. Then the master took refuge in another room, although he had a fever. At that moment I isolated myself from the mission to get something for him and left my subordinate in charge of the mission. Apparently not much happened. Even the girl was cooperative with the master, although when I left I received the report that she had disappeared again because of another cultist. Then the little wolf arrived and the master entrusted her with the mission to go for her, contemplating everything that had happened for obvious reasons. That was all my report. So everything is getting complicated. Something is definitely happening, but now with these measures we will be able to move around better, thanks Zeta. Alpha mentioned this while analyzing the information. I think we should do something about what is happening with Shadow-sama currently. Alpha-sama. Beta showed his concern towards Shadow due to everything that was happening lately. We have to focus on the issue of reputation and ensuring he doesn't have to worry about anything when he returns. We also have to constantly stay alert to any developments in the cult. This will be complicated as long as we don't have much information. Is that more important than the boss's safety? Delta interrupted Alpha, something that had surprised everyone present, since this was the first time Delta had done that, and some reactions were more out of fear since Alpha didn't like interruptions between the shadows and even less so her when they were talking. Do you have something to say, Delta? Alpha, to the surprise of the others, did not show an expression of annoyance or reproach towards her partner or anything like that. She had taken Shadow's advice not to get carried away by leadership and that there would be disagreements, but that a born leader should offer security and protection to the others. If the others remained silent so as not to say their proposals out of fear of the leader, that could not be a good leader at all. I agree with you on everything as always, Alpha-sama, but I'm still worried that you'll take again that Shadow-sama might be fine because he's the... Alpha looked at Delta without interrupting what she was about to tell him. The others also paid attention. The last time it happened, the time the boss was in a bad situation, no one did anything, and now all this sounds like we're going to trust him again. I know the boss is the boss and he knows what he's doing, but leaving him alone worries me a lot. I can't help it. What if it happens again? Even with the measures you take, Alpha-sama, and I trust you a lot, but I'm still afraid. I understand that Shadow's situation is probably still alarming at this point, and I'm sorry if I haven't made you see in a way that what I'm planning is for his benefit and that everything is for his greater good. I'm seriously considering what happened months ago when you notified me. That's why I sent Zeta and we're on the lookout. I didn't do it for no apparent reason. It's because we have a plan if something happens and we will intervene at the exact moment, avoiding that fate that may occur again. We're also helping with the academy and his identity to prevent him from having more stress when he returns and so he can know that he doesn't have to worry anymore. Everything is set up so that he carries less of a burden than he used to before. I'm very sorry if we didn't do this sooner, and we'd probably still be selfish if it weren't for you suggesting the Delta idea. We also have to understand that he is on a journey, clearly to discover a way to exterminate this, and we support him from the shadows because that is what he wants. In this place, he didn't feel anything could help him, and his master vision is what is guiding us, and we will be with him until the end. If something happens again, will he be okay, Disa? If he were alone, probably, but now he isn't, so we will do everything possible for him to be. That is our job. Is it your job? Forget it. Will you support him? And above all, will you help us protect him? Firmly, Alpha hit his chest. At the same time, the shadow of who is the most important person in his world was present without her being able to realize it. Upon hearing those words, Delta looked down as some tears fell from her face. She wiped them with her right arm while also giving a smile. Yeah! Alpha gave a smile upon hearing Delta's positive response. The others were surprised by the fact that Alpha remained calm and the response she had given. Even the others had been motivated to support Shadow. All this was thanks to Shadow's words. Nobody is a bad leader nor a bad person, you just have to keep standing firm and have the will to do it. All of that is more than enough for even a villain to redeem himself in his own way or, on the contrary, continue on his path stronger than ever. We'll wait for further reports from Zeta on what's happening for now. The meeting ends here. Yeah! 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 Delta stared at Zeta, who also confirmed Alpha's words. When it was Delta's turn, she hadn't answered. The others were a little confused since normally Delta was the first or one of the first to confirm Alpha's rule, but now it wasn't the case, and on the contrary, she was looking at Zeta in a strange way. Is something wrong with Delta? Why don't you tell them what happened next? Delta exclaimed towards Zeta, who just remained silent. What happened next? Is there anything else in the report you need to report, Zeta? Alpha wondered. What are you talking about, Delta-san? Beta asked with doubts, just like her companions. She attacked the girl that boss ordered me to protect. She disobeyed a direct order from Bossu, and that was very rude of her. The other shadows would be surprised by the words that Delta had mentioned and tilted their heads looking at Zeta. Is that true, Zeta? Alpha exclaimed with doubt. I don't really care whether or not she attacked the weirdo Disa, but the boss ordered me to protect her and Zeta did the opposite even though she knew that, and I can't tolerate that disrespect, Disa. I just wanted to test a theory, and if she was something special, her surviving the first cult wasn't unusual. Even so, you took extreme measures. The mission I entrusted to you was clearly to keep an eye on Shadow and interfere if anything happened. We still don't know much information about the girl who accompanies him, and we can't harm her or finish her off if we don't have something to back up the arguments. Besides, if Shadow gets upset, you'll cause more problems. Alpha looked at Zeta with a frown for the action she had taken, which clearly was not a direct order from her. Under Alpha's pressure, the others were scared except for Ada, who was not paying attention to the meeting. I couldn't trust her, I had to confirm it. Besides, I wasn't going to finish her off, and I planned for the teacher not to notice to avoid problems. I only made a small decision, that's all, Zeta exclaimed firmly. Even so, it wasn't an order from me. You acted without following the rules in a clearly delicate mission. It's not something you can decide alone. I entrusted you with this mission precisely because you are the only one in the 7 Shadows spy group who has more experience in this. But if you start making your own decisions on your own, I will have to reveal your mission to you, and that is something I don't want to do, Alpha answered coldly. Sometimes in missions, small things that you have planned are needed, but if it bothers you so much, and you want to relieve me of my mission, do it. Don't make it more complicated. The only thing I want, and all of us want, is for him to be well, and that's why we make decisions as a group. Sometimes you don't come to meetings, and now you don't obey such an important mission. Zeta, I wouldn't have any problem letting you do something if you could just open up a little and tell the others. I only serve him, Master. These were the only words Zeta had managed to get out of her throat as she left the room where everyone was gathered. As soon as the door closed, the atmosphere turned cold and the silence uncomfortable. Damn silly cat! Delta got annoyed and got up from her seat, trying to chase Zeta. Stop, Delta! Alpha exclaimed, raising his voice, making the aforementioned girl stop. But Alpha-sama! First with Bossa and now with you! Let her go. But... okay, Disa. Delta sat back down. Probably she only seeks the best of Shadow and simply resorts to extreme methods so that he is well, or she is simply frustrated that Shadow is in the condition that he is now. She knew what was happening to her, that is why I assigned her the spy mission, so that she would keep an eye on Shadow, because that is what she wanted deep down, and if she did not give it to her, she would continue not attending the meetings to go see him. I just want to find the opportunity to be able to talk to Zeta and understand what she feels. But I can't focus because of the current mission. I just hope Shadow returns soon. Midgar. What are you supposed to be doing now? Asked the beautiful, youthful-looking woman with waist-length hair, violet eyes, and a long dark dress. I'm investigating, trying to find answers, answered a 16-year-old high school girl with long black hair, crimson eyes, and her school's characteristic uniform. You've been like this all afternoon. Cid is acting strange. I think he's hiding something, but I don't know what he's hiding. Also, strangely, he's more responsible and careful now, but he's more shy around me. What if those are signs that he's with someone? Could he be back with that hitch Alexia? I don't think he has a girlfriend. You're just overthinking the case. Are you his mother to interfere in his life? Cid, I will discover your secret at all costs. A girl with white pigtails, crimson eyes, and the characteristic uniform of the Midgar school was in her room drinking some coffee and some cookies. She was reading some new articles that the newspapers brought with them, which narrated the attack on the city of Beggar, the hotel, and more. Said cases were accused of Shadow Garden of carrying them out, this obviously altered by the cultists of the Cult of Devils. Beggar City? I read a bit of the article and started analyzing. It was obvious that this wasn't about Shadow Garden since the time of some of these incidents were during the day and also in Beggar. Shadow Garden wouldn't cause destruction in daylight without some apparent explanation, but if that's the case, why does the Diabolos cult want something in that city? It's obvious to assume that the Diabolos cult isn't just focused on Midgar or Oriana. There must be more affected areas outside, which means they have something in mind. The voice of Destiny District 112. I had managed to reach Hannah to what seemed to be the center of the town where it was forbidden to enter. The entrance was full of traps and NPCs, but it was not a problem to finish them all. I began to descend, going down even further. The path on the ground was enormous. It was probably many meters deep. I took a stone and threw it down the rock staircase path formed. A few seconds passed and the stone did not resonate from the impact and nothing was heard. The place was quite deep, that was confirmed. Where are we going? It looks like we have to go down. The road is blocked ahead, and this is the only way in. I began to go down towards the long path which led to a direction with no apparent end. There was nothing but darkness. The path had no lighting. Only the little light that was outside illuminated the first steps, but below there was nothing. I decided to use some slime to materialize a torch. With the help of my magic I recreated fire and used it on the torch to illuminate. For my eyes it was not a problem to see in the dark. But a long, dark, mysterious passageway? I was not going to miss the opportunity. My first time going down a long, dark tunnel is historic. Cid and Hannah continued going down the long path. While both continued going down in abundant silence, neither of the two spoke to each other while they descended. The goals of each one were in this place, and they knew perfectly well that when they finished going down, what had brought them both to this place would begin. 10 minutes passed. Both continued down the immense stairs. The darkness that apparently surrounded everything was slowly disappearing. A small blue light in the background could be seen in the distance. At that moment the little girl had mentioned the next words from her throat, which was numb because she didn't know what to say. After all, the situation was not comfortable at all. Whatever is at the bottom, I wish you luck, brother. If I don't make it through, or if I have to die for the test to begin and I'm an obstacle, I'll just say that I'm grateful for the fact that you won't abandon me that day and that you'll take care of me to this day. You probably didn't want to do it, and I know it well, and yet I've caused you a lot of trouble. Those words had come from Hannah, who continued walking. Cid, on the other hand, continued on his way. Apparently he had ignored Hannah, but that was not the case. He thought a little about those words that the girl had mentioned. Obviously Cid is not interested in sacrificing everything for his goals. However, even he questioned himself for a few moments if in case he really reached the final test and had to leave Hannah for some reason, he could do it. After all, some people that the murderer in the past either ended up dying or being abandoned were evil or selfish people who simply did not deserve the case. But in this case it was a girl who had a future ahead of her but was only stuck in the emotional anxiety that originated in her. The fact of leaving everything behind and obtaining what she was looking for would not be something that would satisfy even Cid. The further they advanced and the light slowly grew larger, the steps of both were slower, as if time itself was slow for both of them. Cid noticed this, and when he tried to move a little faster he noticed that he still had difficulties in being able to advance, as if in this place the concept of time was delayed for both of them. What's going on? The place is... When Hannah started talking she noticed that for some strange reason her speech was also much slower, to her surprise. It seems interesting that the time in this place is different from the outside. I never thought I would find myself in a situation like this. Does this mean that this is a space isolated from the outside, or maybe we are so low in the center of this world that probably the time acts differently? Or could it be some being that has something to do with this? As they advanced further, the pressure on both of them increased, and it certainly began to almost completely prevent them from moving forward due to time itself. The light was still visible. Perhaps that's why this place is almost impossible to make a wish in. The pressure is too much. We'll die if we keep going before we get there. Should we turn back? Interesting. Cid began to release a large part of his magical energy suddenly. Such an act made the girl a little surprised by the action Cid was doing, but at the same time she expected it. After all, when Cid finds a challenge, he will always try to overcome it no matter what happened and how it will happen. I began to release much of my magical power to try to reduce the effects that were in this place. Despite my attempts to make gravity lighter, it was very difficult even for me. The concept of time was something that was still far from my reach. At most I managed to advance a little, but gravity was a problem. Although my body was used to training, but it was moving very slowly because time itself was slow. In any case, I could advance but slowly, and the only thing I could do was that gravity would not affect me so much. Simply slow time was not going to be a problem for me, but now I will arrive slower. Even if I tried to use my energy in various ways, I would not achieve anything. Huh! Gravity is. I can only lessen the effects of pressure, but I can't do anything about the time issue. I haven't developed a skill that scales something of this magnitude yet. Then. We'll have to move forward, but it will take time to get there. Fortunately, time seems to slow down here, which means less fatigue. But you're using magic, right? That means you have to be constantly releasing magic to prevent the pressure from killing us as soon as you stop using it as a shield. Wouldn't that wear you down? I would like to say that mana is easy to use in small portions and take advantage of the outside to make it more durable. I developed ways to combat the problem of magic, and where was something I had contemplated when I reincarnated in this world. But in this place I need to use a lot of magic reserves in an area where time is slow and there is gravity. Really, my magic reserves are not as great as Alpha's, but I have the advantage that I can take advantage of my magic to avoid running out of it, although, the further we advance the heavier it is. It probably has to do with the fact that we are getting closer and closer to the center, and it seems that in the center it does not exist, or the concept of time is almost extinct, which means that there is no magic and I must use the magic that I already have with me, that limits me in a certain way and makes me reduce the time limit. This place would have been perfect for me to train. Now that I think about it, I'm going to have a training dedicated to gravity when I get back, and I'll see if I can master some atomic magic that will help me against time itself. It probably took me a long time, but it will be worth it. Now I came up with a new idea. The further the light advanced, the more and more it was visible, a small kind of blue light / barrier. This is very difficult. About 17 minutes passed. Both continued trying with annoyance to cross the seemingly impossible to reach area. The light had finally reached them. Hannah tried to touch the light of that blue barrier that ended the last step. When her finger touched that barrier, her original mobility had returned. The barrier closer, you could see a kind of seal in the shape of a large blue / white pentagram. We're getting closer! Hannah tried to advance further, slowly managing to get her body into the barrier until finally entering. Once she had entered, she fell to her knees, exhausted, as if the time she was outside the barrier were thousands of hours of accumulated fatigue in her body. Her limbs ached from tiredness. Cid, on the other hand, was about to pass, but before doing so the barrier he was making was fading. Probably the magic was being negated. Is the shield weakening? Could this place be similar to that place? In that case, this will be a problem. I tried to move forward, but my body started to get slower and slower. Little by little I started to feel the pressure falling on me. My legs were being slowly crushed, my arms felt sore, and my chest was starting to burn. I felt a hand pulling my hand. When I looked, I noticed Hannah trying to pull my right hand. If Hannah took her arm out to try to pull me, then the pressure on her hand. GGUH. I won't leave you behind. Hannah used all her strength trying to pull Cid. The force exerted managed to make Cid advance little by little faster, and was about to touch the barrier. But the same force that Hannah exerted hurt her more than Cid himself, because her body was not as strong as Cid's and was less resistant. In turn, Cid felt pain in his extremities, and the pull hurt him in a certain way. After a struggle of a few moments, the little girl had managed to bring Cid to the barrier, and they both fell to the ground exhausted. Ugh. Uff. Thank you. I thanked that girl who had managed to get me out of the last step. At no time did I feel that my magic was running out. In fact, I still had quite a bit of magic left, and I could stay like that longer. But unexpectedly the magic I used began to be drained. Probably the strange symbol on that barrier absorbed my magic, just as it had happened before in that strange white place where I had been before. I didn't expect another place like that. The pressure was too strong. I'd never felt so much pressure before. If it weren't for the little magic I still had, my body would have been completely crushed. For a few moments I was about to die. Are you okay? Yeah. I sat for a few moments and held my arm. I could barely move my limbs a little. The accumulated fatigue did not let me move freely. I could not feel my right hand at all, but I do not regret using it. Being logical, the sacrifice of a hand is more than in vain if we compare it to the life of someone important. Cid began to get up with difficulty as he tried to do so, a little coughing, his chest incapacitated by the sudden change in gravity. But his body began to recover little by little faster than Hannah's because his ability to adapt was superior. He tried to use magic, but the magic did not come out of his hand. I probably have a magic block. My reserves are still in good condition, but physically I need to rest a little. I wanted to confirm if this strange pentagram absorbed magic. In that case, I took the torch that was on the ground trying to duck, but the pain invaded me for a few moments before I could get down. Enduring that pain, I continued ducking until I managed to take it. I raised it and placed it on that pentagram. The flame, which was made of my own magic, was disappearing, and barely 1 second passed, the entire flame was extinguished almost instantly. This explained why, despite my large amount of magic, I could not maintain the barrier for too long. It seems that there is a kind of effect where the more magic exists, the faster it drains. Even if it is minimal magic, the difference in time is not that much of a difference. I sat on the floor and gave a long sigh. I guess we can't both move, Hannah mentioned. We'll probably have to take a break before moving forward further. Yeah. Are you okay? The pressure on your right arm when you pulled me out. It's nothing, although I can't feel it, but the risk I could have suffered if it weren't for your help could have been worse. Now I just need to rest a little from the exhaustion. Although when the body adapts to the environment, it means that we will still be exhausted, probably due to the sudden change of environment. So it seems. Cid looked for a few moments at the little girl's right hand, which had disappeared. For some strange reason he felt a little strange. He didn't think that anyone in this world would ever help him in a situation where he was probably at risk. Certainly that wasn't something very pleasant. However, witnessing that it was a girl and that she lost a limb because of saving him caused him a feeling. I can't use magic to heal your arm. Are you worried about me? Ah, you're so cute. Cid sighed and looked down at the ground, ignoring Hannah. Don't worry, anyway, I had already considered that if anything happened because I accompanied you, it was my sole responsibility for coming to this place. Besides, if sacrificing my arm means I could help you, I'd rather do it. I wouldn't want to have to see that again. The little girl paused at the last words, something that Cid noticed, but he tried not to give it any importance. Although deep down he was grateful for the help, he didn't want to admit it clearly. Both stayed on the ground sitting, waiting to recover so they could continue the journey.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.